I'm gonna leave this song a little loud because I fucking love this song for whatever reason. I listen to this song at the fucking gym all the time, and it's such a good cardio song. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. But welcome in, guys. Happy Thursday. Welcome in, welcome in. It's a chibi day. Hi. I forgot the fishing game. I forgot the fishing game. Oh, and I still have V-Bridger open for some reason. Be gone! Be gone, V-Bridger! Megan's gonna give the guest hearing damage. It's not that loud. It's not that loud. God damn it. God damn it. I'm getting the fishing game. Hold on. Hi, Fake Nudes. Thank you for 30 stream streak. Holy shit. Top of the time zone to ya. That was not a very good attempt. I don't know if I want to attempt it. Do I dare attempt the great Jacksepticeye? Oh shit. I clicked off the fishing game before I could get rid of the Twitch API warning. Go Bulge! No! I'm sorry it took so long to start stream today, guys. I was
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Cast bread over every egg.
round and round we go. Where we stop, nobody knows. Blue Whale? Jesus, Sunstar, come on, give everybody else a chance. Left the guests in the dark? What do you mean? What do you mean I left the guests in the dark? Y'all are supposed to be in the dark. That's the point. Like, am I wrong? You making the mother of all omelets before stream? Neat? No, that was not the bit. That was in fact not the bit. I was trying to get the promo picture for the day because I'm posting the debut like little shots. What's the word? Every other day. How Gen Z killed the Yakuza. Oh? Like the duck you can punch people, it's a victimless crime. Nobody saw anything. Absolutely nothing to worry about. I like the dark. Da-da-da-da. We fight the mafia with... No! Grins! You know better! You know better, mister. I mean, nothing? Nothing? Yeah. Totally nothing. Totally nothing. Right? Right? Brat and the culture of addiction. Uh-oh. Darkness imprisoning me. Listen, it's fine. I can already kind of guess what this person's video is on the brat and culture of addiction. Sorry guys. What I was saying is it took so long because yesterday I had to because Rin kept giving me more and more rigging files for the new model. I kept having to re-fucking put them in, kept finding problems, kept having to fix them either myself or get Rin to fix them because he'd flub something up. And so today I realized when I was going to do the promo picture that none of the lighting settings I had saved previously existed anymore. They've been like completely reset. But you know, it's fine. As business meetings for the carnival noted, yes, bidness, BIDNESS. But I also didn't have anything particularly ready to go for today for what we were gonna like talk about stuff. So y'all know what that means. Oh no. Business. Any meowers? Oh god. Biggles? Wait, y'all started any meowers without Biggles? Oh, they're gonna be upset. You're gonna upset Biggles, guys. You're gonna upset the little cat. This generation doesn't know how to mob boss anymore. Back in my day, we did mafia without human ethics. The thing is, though, is I think what I'm gonna guess what it became is Gen Z either became so obsessed with like different parts of things or anything like that, that they essentially were able to pull the mafia into the light, if that makes sense, where like it's incredibly hard, if not borderline impossible in this day and age of technology to either hide from a camera somewhere, whether it's in people's hands or built into the infrastructure. Booty, booty. Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. All right. All right. All right. But I did know recently the Yakuza actually went to the police headquarters, and I think it was Tokyo. The largest Yakuza family went to the headquarters in Tokyo and formally said that there will be no more gang wars. I did hear about that. Better be open in pickle jars with them cheeks. Jesus. All right, we gotta do 20 squats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good song. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. All right, chat. We got to talk about another thing. It's a little more self-care. Oh, I forgot to refill my water. It's not empty, but it's not full either. Oh, goodness. All right. Also, wait a second. Did Twitter get rid of the, like, Gronk feed thing that, like, used to basically show, like, what was trending at the time? That's just gone. It's all gone. What the fuck? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, fuck. I don't know if I want to go look at this. Okay, before I go look at the terrible thing, can we talk about something else real quick? Real quick, so before y'all know, so that y'all know what this terrible thing is that I now see, #1 trending right now on TikTok, not TikTok. Why do I keep saying TikTok? I don't use TikTok anymore. On Twitter is Trump 2028. And about 3 ways down is Norway. Let's see what's going on with Norway. Oh no! The King of Norway just said Donald Trump is not just the worst American president ever, he's also the worst American ever. Might be that Gronk called Elon one of the biggest spreaders of misinformation in the world. That's hilarious. You can't go being right. Cowabunga it is then. No, the Norway one's fine. We'll look at the Trump one because I'm afraid that when we look at it, it's going to be like, it's going to be something along the lines of people being like, he should be emperor. He should be allowed to have a 3rd term. Because for non-Americans, presidents can only have 2 terms. They can only be president for 8 years. Is NFL drafts? Yeah, that was basically immediately under it. Oh no. Oh no. Jonas Gahr Store, the Norwegian Prime Minister, asked if he would go to Norway. I want to go skiing. That's all he said. That's all Trump said on if he would come to Norway. I would go skiing. I want to go skiing. I mean, same, but like I want to go snowboarding again. I haven't been snowboarding since I was like 16. Doesn't matter if they're consecutive terms or not. They only have 8. Correct. They only have 8. Worshipping. Oh, no, they've been doing that for fucking ever. There were people before, I think it was actually during his first term. I think it was during his first term that were calling for abolishing term limits, making Donald Trump president until Melania could become president. Or, well, technically she can. The way they were also trying to figure out, too, was like if they kept the term limits, then they could technically have like a dynasty of Trumps until for like 40 years. All the way until the point where like Barron became old enough to run for president. They were a thing, and they're probably still a thing. Yeah. Huh? Hold on. Okay. So this person's post here, I would clock out of existing. This person's post here is, again, President Trump met with the Prime Minister of Norway today. But this person's tweet, the last sentence on their tweet is, EU needs to start making some moves. Americans are tired of being screwed. Okay. Why does the EU care about Americans? Aside from like, you know, the like humanity parts. Why did he miss, goddammit? Tell me about it, Grins. Tell me about it. Okay, real quick, guys. We're gonna snap back to talking about the stream really quick. I have some news for what's gonna come with the debut. This is also partially with Faye and Sai involved. They care a lot about us over here. Aww. Aww. Hi, Annie. Wait, that is such a cute fucking Cleature. Oh, it's called Cleature. Oh, that's precious. That's precious. Constitution has no kings, only elected leaders. Meanwhile, what if Trump dynasty monarchy, bruh? Bruh. Yeah, it's people care about the Constitution until they very much want to throw it away for their what they believe to be their own benefits. But okay, real quick, we're talking about the debut, guys. Oh, I clicked the thing. I don't want to look at the thing. I don't want to see the thing. I thought y'all were against the dynasty. Very much so. He's a good leader just to hurt people. It's the libs. It's to own the libs, dude. Cleature fear. Cleature wah. Oh. Well, it's very then true, but I'm also a political creature at heart, so I always, oh. Hold on a second. Hold on. My buddy Jane, apparently somebody surprise bought him on Throne the new bottoming book. If y'all don't know that book, it is a book on basically like BDSM. I have both versions of both the new bottoming and the new topping book. They are very good books. They're very good books. Yeah, it's all this Jane. That's my wife, Jane. That's my vampire wife. All right, though, what I was saying, guys. Interesting. Come the debut, we are actually going to be doing a donathon? Yeah, we'll do a donathon. We'll call it a donathon right now. Because we are a little bit short for the housing cost. This isn't the moving cost. This is housing cost. So me, Faye, and Sai are going to work to raise about $2,000 each to pay the extra. Green wife, octowife, yeah, vampire wife. We've already been started working on like a few goals here and there. We were going to get together yesterday, but I think everybody ended up busy or something. But we're going to get more incentives. We're all going to be doing shit for it. I'm going to eat that. What are you going to eat? You mean Ko-Fi memberships or special Discord VIP and supporting the ringleader? True. Also true. But that's basically what we're going to be doing come the 6th. Or if y'all want to do it now, I could add it to the incentives. If there is somebody out there who is extremely generous and or wants thigh pictures, because I am offering the thigh pictures again. I may offer the squashing a watermelon with my thighs again, since summer's getting here. I think watermelon season is almost here. Joint thighs for sale. Chat, trust me, you want face thighs. You want face thighs. But yeah, one of the things I'll do is I will also make a short video of me smashing a watermelon. Can I donate without the thigh shots? Yes, you can, Hectic. No, the thing is you're not going to get them like individually. It's going to be like a major goal, and I'm going to post it in Discord. God damn it. You want face thighs so bad, it makes you look stupid. Oh, good Lord. What is going going on today on Twitter with everybody talking about, I guess, is fat shaming the theme of the day? Is fat shaming the theme of the day today? What is going on? Interesting. God, what are they doing now? I don't know. Seeing lava. I don't know what lava chicken is. I can do safety torch. I know safety torch. I don't know many others. Good fucking Lord. Sorry, I just found somebody that I guess, like, debuted recently. And her entire fucking ass is out on her model. Jesus. And she's apparently attached 2 blimps to her chest. Granted, as soon as I say that, everybody's like, oh, that does not narrow it down. Wrong, Jiggle. No, it's not. It's Jack Black's song? Is it? Is that from the movie? I'm guessing that's from the movie. Hi, sure, thank you. This is the chibi one. We're actually doing a debut later if you want to hang out for the 6th, come May 6th. Is that? Okay, yeah, all her posts are swinging her chest around. You know how some VTubers will get like really like far like X and Y head movements so that they can like turn their head 180 degrees? This girl got her torso to do that, so she can just swing her chest. That's crazy. That's crazy. I've never seen this person until today. Okay, that is not how that costume ended up looking. I just found the design sheet for her model, and the design sheet does not look like the way the model came out. Okay. Okay, if you say so. God, I hate phone keypad autocorrect. Shit happens. Shit happens. Forehead hardtack. Oh, I missed it. Is already 14th place in the UK top. Why are we here? Just to suffer? What did we do to deserve this? Why are you like this, Chance? Why are you like this? The fucking making a Minecraft song, like, top charts, basically. It's also, though, if y'all donate... Actually, you know what? I will mark right now and all the way through the marathon. If we reach... Here, actually, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go reset it real quick. I will set this as just, like, a dumb bounty. All the way through wherever the marathon is. I'm already going to set the $1,000 as thigh pictures. And this time I'm not going to wear the thigh highs. I'll actually go like take care of mine, my feet and everything. Although I probably will blur my toes because my toes are weird. I don't like my toes. I don't like my toes. All right, let me reset this. And I'm just going to set it to the 2000 for this. Give chat an incentive. You should do toes for additional 500. I can do that. We can do toes for an additional 500. I actually trimmed them yesterday, but the thing is, I'll probably use my own money because at that point, I would much rather go get like a pedicure and then come back and take pictures for y'all because that'd be more worth it. I guarantee at least one person on the internet will like your toes. I'm sure. But it's also, I got like a weird little dinky pinky toe that I don't like. It's weird. I left and came back and now we're on toes. No, I was just telling chat that if I would do it without like the thigh highs that I usually wear, because I think I actually threw them out recently because I was cleaning out some of my storage bins. The dinky pinky? Yes, the dinky pinky. Okay. All right. The Ko-fi thing has been reset, so we are good on that. So once it hits 50% is the point where we will... Oh, gross. 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 I don't like that. I don't like that. That's gross. Ew. All right. But yeah, that'll go from Ko-fi into my PayPal, and then I can send it straight to Sai for the for any of those extra costs. The downside is there is also PayPal's annoying as shit. What's it called? Fees and nonsense. So, oh boy. Is there like a date? No, that's the problem. We need to make it through this before we can figure out a date. We hit another wall, and that's why we need to do this. We hit another wall, and that's why we need to do this. Okay. Yes, yeah, then I was gonna say this is probably the last wall. It's just it feels like all of it's gone wrong in every way it can. Wait, what is this? I guess opposition leader Peter Dutton backed the social media ban for teenagers citing violence in video games. Ah, the age-old dog whistle of violence in video games. How many walls do we need to destroy? Probably just this last one. The rest will be used to keep the roof up. Yeah, we could be. The thing is, I think Faye, you were saying like early summer. Like, depending on how fast this gets done, determines how fast the date is pushed ahead. Ooh, I love this song. Well, the speed of governments. Okay, but at least it seems like your government's a little faster than like the US government. Come on. To work for that part? Damn. Wait a second. Oh. Uh-oh. PC Gamer has an exclusive look at Bloodlines 2? What? What's it on? I work with criminals? Oh boy. Wait, how bad are Norwegian criminals? How bad can Norwegian criminals be? Happens in the first 100 days when power becomes centralized. It's not even power. Well, technically power is becoming decentralized. Not officially, but it's the thing with what they're doing is ignoring every other power and just pushing on ahead regardless. And it's working, which is the most infuriating part. Hi, Zozo. We like to call that. If you didn't listen, if you didn't watch your homework, hold on. Let me go get the video. Because we didn't have stream yesterday, like I said we were going to, I had put something in media share for everyone. I highly recommend going and watching this video if you have free time today, or at least saving it for later. Wait, there was homework? Yeah. Also, that's another thing we need to talk about. So I mentioned it on Tuesday. We are changing the schedule again. I hate doing this, but this only happened because we're doing Mage the Ascension on Fridays. I thought they were going to be on Saturdays and we weren't going to have to change the schedule. Turns out they're on Fridays at noon. So instead of having a stream on Friday, we're actually going to be streaming on Wednesday. So our stream schedule is going to be Monday through Thursday, and then we'll be playing Mage the Ascension on Fridays over at Hectics. It's just that I didn't get to stream yesterday because I got home from the gym. I left before the typical time when like all the family leaves to go to work and stuff. And they were still here. And it turns out that they took the day off and slept in, which is very unusual for them. Usually even when they sleep in, they're up before 10, but they didn't get up until after like 1:30. So I was panicking a little bit yesterday. I was concerned. I was like, the door's closed. The door's almost never closed. They don't usually take off work on Wednesday as opposed to like a Friday. So they get like a 4-day weekend. What's going on? They were just tired. They were really, really tired. It happens. It's the thing that we'll go back to one of our original schedules once I move. We'll probably be going back to our 4 p.m. CST. if that makes sense. We'll be doing that. We'll be going back to the 4 p.m. CST time slot once we move, and we'll probably be going back to, depending on how it goes. We'll probably consider it back to 5 days a week schedule. I'm waiting on a doc appointment in about an hour. Oh boy, is it for your legs? Hopefully today's good news in the walking again front. Let's go. Hell yeah. Yeah, if y'all didn't know, is those legs exploded? Not literally, and not like IED style. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No. Don't like think of that way. Getting the staples out for sure. Not sure if they'll give me better braces. I mean, if you ask them, maybe. Possible. Probable, actually. Very probable. But hold on. I want to see what this article's on for Bloodlines 2 really quick. I'm sorry for the stray subject jumping, guys. Oh, PC Gamer got to play the game for hours, as well as speak to numerous key devs about their vision for the game. Oh, no. Oh, no. In terms of features, this month we've also a fantastic feature on... Damn it! Damn it, it immediately changes. It immediately changes from Bloodlines. God damn it. Oh, my God. I've woken up in an abandoned building in Seattle, a centuries-old vampire who's been in a torpor for 100 years. Who forced me into a surprise slumber? How did I get to Seattle? Why the heck am I hearing another vampire in my head? These tantalizing questions are just the tip of the iceberg in a game that unexpectedly feels like a classic pulp noir detective yarn. Penguin, thank you for renewing your season. Not renewing your season pass. Thank you for the $10 dono. Was that from... For the marinade? Oh my goodness, marinade. But is that from, did you do the like recurring one, or was that just a one time? Because if it's the recurring one, you get like VIP in the Discord. But I think if it's the one time, I don't think it gives you the benefits. Been able to kind of walk again with braces that lock my legs straight. Yeah, that's what it looked like when you were showing pictures before. That's okay. I was just making sure. I was just making sure in case you wanted to like sign it up for like the $10 a month, because the $10 a month actually gets you the VIP section. If you're not like tier 2 or tier 3, then that's a little bit... What is this? Huh? Oh, okay. Okay, I see. I see. SUV Secret Labs. Okay, yeah, this is just preview piece for the actual PC Gamer magazine this month. Damn it! Damn it, I didn't want to preview. I wanted to click through it. All right, chat. Chat, I think I'm going to have to do the unfortunate thing. And that's of looking and seeing why Trump 2028 is trending. We're going to hang out? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, bud. I'll send you pics of the staple scars when I can. Oh boy, that's gonna be badass. That's gonna be badass. Actually, the thing too, chat, I think for what I'm gonna do for the goals, since I mentioned it today, as if y'all like donate now, they will retroactively apply to whatever goals we set. And Faye is gonna keep me honest and make sure I don't like manipulate like the earlier stuff to be like super easy. We're gonna make them as fair as possible, and Faye's gonna keep me on the straight and narrow. Flip and float. Oh, hectic! Holy shit! Thank you, dude. So what I'm gonna do really quick. I'm gonna take that link really quick, and we're gonna do a pin. Retroactive goals. No fucking way. Not the brackets. All right, retroactive goals. We'll just do that. We'll just make it simple. We'll just make it simple because I'm stupid. Because I'm very stupid. Okay. I looked up the thing on Twitter for Uber and Mango Mussolini selling 2028 hats now. Is it him? Because the picture I'm looking at right now is his son with, again, the world's second most punchable face. They're $50? Ain't no fucking way. He's able to do so because the prohibition against serving two terms only applies if they're consecutive. No, it doesn't. No, the fuck it doesn't. Oh my God, they're gonna try to. Also, I just realized something. Whoever this person is that posted this, they tagged their picture, not with like Trump or anything, but it's tagged with Patron Tequila and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. I mean, they'd have to go to war directly to do something like Putin is. Yeah, that's... Why do people do that? Do they think Patron Tequila's gonna retweet it? A satire podcast where you just talk like conservative idiots? Oh my God! Oh my God! Can we do it like old Stephen Colbert? Please, please let me be like old Stephen Colbert. I will do their talking points better than them, even though they are stupid as shit. Okay, yeah, it looks like all of these. I'll do the Alex Jones. Oh no. Oh no, it's so over. It's so over. Oh my God, he's also selling Gulf of America hats. And then underneath it on the hat, it says, yet another Trump development. So what you're saying is it's going to fail just like all the others? Who's going to be Joe Rogan? They're making the freaking frogs gay. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, of course, right-wing people on the internet are still using that one video of that lady screaming. Was it back in 2016, I think? Yeah, because they have the one joke, guys, one joke, one meme. Only one meme. What the heck is that? Dragon? Oh, I see it. Okay. Just Faye just being on the other side of the pond, frog dancing. Froge. Must froge. Thanks, Marv. Thanks, Marv. But yeah, it's... Oh, Jesus Christ. The AI videos, too, that people are making to make this, like, attempt to look cool. He's not joking about potential third term. Okay, I'm just gonna close that. I'm just gonna close that. Polymorph is good. It's a good April spell. I know you meant spell, but April. All right. All right. Their movie on Prime where John Cena is the president of the United States and Idris Elba is the British prime minister. What? I could not bring myself to use streaming services, so no, I haven't seen it. Let me see. I want to look this up now. John Cena. President. Is it the, oh, it's the Independent. I don't see Idris Elba in this. Or is it Heads of State? Apparently John Cena has been the president multiple times. Yeah, I don't think this is the right one. I don't think this is the right one. I think it's Heads of State. Is it Heads of State? Yeah, it's Heads of State. Okay. John Cena plays Will Derringer, Jesus Christ, the President of the United States, and Idris Elba plays Sam Clark, Prime Minister of United Kingdoms. Priyanka Chopra Jonas, Jesus, that is a name, plays Noelle Bissett, an MI6 agent. It's a comedy? Action comedy. Huh. Is actually president? We don't need to make celebrities presidents. Politicians should be separate from businessmen and celebrities. They should be boring and caring. Currently playing Risk of Rain 2, and God, I forgot how much shit can happen at once. Oh, and Risk of Rain? You got Ronald Reagan? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't we do that with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yes, he was governor of California. Very much so. You say that like it's like, aha, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor. No. That is not it. It is not even close to what I'm saying. Just elect Jon Stewart. Maybe, then at least we wouldn't keep getting VA cuts. Or fucking like 9/11 survivor cuts. Seriously? Do y'all remember that? I want to know if anybody remembers that. The time when, if y'all didn't know, Jon Stewart has always basically lobbied to keep 9/11 survivors, like, some of them were like permanently disabled in the process, as well as like these are also the firefighters and stuff. And at the time, the United States set up a fund that essentially gave them all a pension due to the disabilities that they likely suffered from doing that job that particular day. And even though Jon Stewart was like lobbying it so much, they still, yeah, a lot of cancer because of the fumes and the dust and everything. But, oh, I hate that. But we need to add a clause that if you're going to run for official political office, they won't. They won't. I'm just saying they won't. But, even someone's not mixing Monster with their coffee every morning, Christ cracker. Okay. Buildings aren't made to be aerosolized. True. Especially, I don't know how old the World Trade Towers were. I would not doubt if there was asbestos in that building. I actually still have a FEMA air cleaner because of the cancer concerns. Good. Plus, you're in New York. You know, you probably should. You probably should regardless. It's probably not the worst idea, per se. But why? Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Oh, that's because I'm not in For You. I was like, why do you keep seeing things that I've previously basically never seen before? Alrighty then. It's an air pollution warning today. Welcome to major cities. It happens. It happens. Chat, I also have a curiosity question. So yesterday, I realized I missed a Twitter DM from, let's say a company. And I want to know, I need to gauge interest because they want me to get my own art for this, commercial art. How much would y'all like to have a Dark Carnival keyboard? Man's gonna start Baron Coin? No, I am not. No, I am not. Although this company did also offer to make Booba mouse pads. But yeah, a keyboard company came to me to get it in Nordic layout as well. They did actually, I noticed they had multiple layouts available on the website, but I don't know the major differences between them. Okay. Booba mouse pads, why not? I don't care about Booba mouse pads, but y'all have always either made the joke or pitched the idea of Win Booba mouse pad. Thing too, though, is I could actually have a mouse pad for y'all on debut if we wanted it. Booty mouse pad. Nah, this would be, I could get y'all a desk pad. I do have the commercial rights to, I demand a Docky. Would you buy a Docky though? I want every single one of you who has pitched getting a body pillow to me. I need a Merit desk pad. I can get that done. I can get that done pretty easily because I can make that on fourth wall. That can be done on fourth wall. No problemo. Oh, good lord. Oh, good lord. Oh my god, guys. The new Monster Prom game is out. It's MonsterCon! MonsterCon came out. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. In shitification. Oh no. Oh fuck. I have big news to share, so I'll cut right to the chase. We've hired a new CEO to lead Discord through our next chapter of growth and, quote, someday become a public company. I'm sure that'll be fine, I say in complete and utter disbelief. No. We're doomed. What does public company mean? It means it becomes available to publicly trade and speculate on the stock market. So Discord is currently a private company, which means all of its investments are either private or it raises its own investments in its own way and its own funds. To become public means to take public investments, meaning you could take it from the average public person or from like investment firms and stuff. Yeah, shareholders become the decision makers because every business that goes public turns into a punk baby back bitch that bends over backwards for their fucking shareholders. Get ready for Discord Battle Pass. Get ready for fucking Nitro to double in price. Discord is a subsidiary of the Elon Corp. I mean, it's not right now, but the new CEO is a ex-Blizzard employee. Which, if y'all don't know, let me just, people buy Nitro? I have Nitro. It's so I can boost my own Discord server. It's so I can give y'all more stickers and emotes. Y'all not like the stickers and emotes? What the fuck is Vincord? Also, isn't TeamSpeak coming back? Y'all think a new Blue Sky version of Discord will come out? I never want to use Discord, but I'm forced. I mean, Discord is still kind of the best voice chat room / everything else right now, which kind of sucks. Wait. Oh, good lord. Okay, sorry. I was looking at things. Do you think we'll need to revive Skype? No, Skype is fucking dead, my guy. Unless you're willing to sell your fucking, what was it? Unless you're willing to sell your RAM directly to Skype. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if that's a great idea. But let me do a quick thing. I need to make sure I have a certain gnome open. There we go. There we go. A certain grandma, if you will. A certain little goofy bitch who made a sick ass character design, who's one of the artists for Hunter the Parenting. Why is the Division 2 trending? Who plays the Division? Oh, it's getting DLC. Why? That draws hot big men? Yes. Hot big men and hot big women. Are people really excited for Division DLC after all this time? When did the Division 2 come out? Assault of Jub? Yes, Assault of Jub. Division 2 release date. 2019. It came out 6 years ago. And that's March. That was 6 years in March. I hate it. I hate it. I mean, when we get private account API stuff for Blue Sky, it'll only be a matter of time before someone turns it into servers. I have wanted to see this for so long. I don't like it. I don't think it's a good idea. Well, maybe it'll be interesting at least, but yeah, it's... I guess Division still has like a devoted player base, but I remember Division having the same problem in both of their fucking games, and that was the goddamn number crunch. This is the problem with making like open world shooter games and something that's supposed to have like scaling weapons and stuff. Eventually, enemies just turn into bullet sponges. Like if I'm playing a shooter game and I want to play like a sniper, if I shoot somebody in the head, I want them to go down in one shot. I want their asses to go down in one shot if I shoot them in the head. I don't want like a tenth of their health to go away or an eighth of their health to go away. I want their ass dead. Bullet sponge over better tactics. F that. Yep. Because all the divisions just kept turning into essentially pick up a minigun and just unload bullets into the enemies because of, yeah, there's numbers jumping off of them. Like you're getting like 10,000 damage per bullet put into it, but their health is barely moving. And that just kind of fucking sucks. Like that's just poor game design. That's like they only thought about the first 10 minutes of the game and then didn't think about what end game was supposed to be like. Sounds like the best SpongeBob game. I mean, not Blue Sky themselves, but a community dev, which they usually don't make the regular experience any worse. So I see no issue. Maybe, but I'm probably not going to use it, Sunstar. One shot, one kill. Listen, if I'm going to play a sniper, I want it to feel like a sniper. If they give me the opportunity to have like a 50 cal, god damn it, I want somebody's head to go pop. Even Borderlands only put bullet sponge enemies for in-game raid bosses. It's too bad Borderlands threw the writing budget into the trash. Yarp. Hi, Bob. You missed. Try again. The sniper grandpa? Sniper grandpa, sniper grandpa. The snipist even? God damn it. Not just snipe, but sniper. You can make my head go pop. I prefer, oh my god, Sylvie. But anything will do. All right, clap. Hold on a second. I just looked down the hall and I can see the like windows where sunlight's usually coming in, and it's gotten dark. I'm guessing we have a chance of rain today. But it's gotten dark since I started stream. Interesting. Throw don't work? Throw don't work. Oh. It should work. What the fuck? Why? Why? Is it broken? I mean, it's possible that it's broken. I could do this. Okay, there we go. It's been raining the whole day here. Yeah, well, Ordain, aren't the Netherlands a pretty rainy region? Like, it should have worked the last few days that we knew about. It won't work with the 3D model. It doesn't work with the 3D model. I need to set up the like the VNyan internal. What do they call it? Like the internal throw system that they have, but it's a pain and I'm scared. It's a pain and I'm scared. It scares me. It frightens me. The thing too is I think I've already pretty much set up everything. Hey, yo, McCrispy strips are coming back to McDonald's. Hey, yo, Tindies are back at McDonald's. Shame I only ever had those once when I was like 10. Coco, are you okay? All right. It's been sunny almost this whole month. Okay, that makes sense. Not 3D modeled, but when it should have worked, but chalked up the Twitch. I think it is because it's connected. It says it's connected. Like y'all can see it whenever I like open this. Like that shit's connected. Oh, what was that? I mean, here, let me try something really quick. Okay. Okay. Can anybody test that? Oh, is it messed up for you too? I figured it was the Twitch API issues and that they were still. Hi, Coco. Hi. Scritchy, Tindies or Fingies? Tindies. They call them, what is it? McCrispy strips, I think is what they used to be called. I have a puppo next to me that I am currently scritching, chat. Remember to love your pets. While they may be a small part of your life, you're the entirety of theirs. Yeah, I know. It's also funny too, because she's lived more time with my family than she has been with me. But anytime I'm here, she comes to me for protection over the family. So like not last night, it was 2 nights ago when we had a thunderstorm. Their room was wide open and she could go into it if the thunderstorm started. Instead, she came to my bedroom door and started scratching on it to be let in. And she came and hid under my bed. She's my baby. She's my baby. My 50-pound baby. All right. I think ad break's about to start and I don't have words on stream ready. Let me go ahead and get that going. Where are you? There you are. Load, damn you. There we go. Perfect. 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 All right. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the head one. I almost never use the head one. All right. I do for you. Can't believe we're gonna abandon the baby for Norway. Listen, she's a baby. She's got to stay with the family, okay? We had the whole family comforting our dog during a thunderstorm, but she ripped the front door off. Oh my god! Amazing. That's actually amazing. Chat, you can't see her, but she is she's currently plopped on the floor next to me. Like full side, just all the way down, just poof. Oh wow. Wait, are y'all gonna get this? Oh. Okay, so between D and G, it could be E. Could start with E. Or it could be another D word. Oh, Gelds, there you go. Nice. Well done. Holy shit. All right. Let me go ahead and give y'all the next one then. Knocked it out of the fucking park. Coco can win. The thing is, she doesn't really go to like the same place always. She has a kennel. She has 2 beds. She likes laying right next to me like she is now. Or she also likes being under my bed. For whatever reason, she barely fits under the bed. I'm talking like her rib cage is on the floor on one side and the other end of her rib cage is pushing against the bed. But she still squeezes herself under there. She also has no neck. She has no neck because she is pudgy. She's a pudgy little baby with no neck. All right, so let me see. What else is going on? I... Mm, wait a second. What is this? Oh, okay. These are Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This is somebody making Yu-Gi-Oh card art. Oh. Oh, interesting. Okay. Gonna go ahead and open that because I found something interesting. I'll give y'all another one. God damn, what the fuck is happening? What are y'all doing? What are y'all on today? Somebody's been eating their fucking Wheaties. Y'all been chugging alphabet soup or something? What's going on with y'all today? Is Big Baby weighing at a fat 90 pounds? She's not fat. She's just a little bit pudgy. And I can grab her scruff and it's really fun. She ain't got no neck. It's fine. She's got a tube. She's got a tube from torso to head, and it's very funny. It could not be considered a neck. Found that recently. Do you know that one system used in Shadow of Mordor? Yes, the Nemesis system. It's copyrighted. Yeah, they put a patent on it. Said patent ends 2037. These a-holes at Warner Brothers basically put a wall behind it because they're a-holes. They haven't used it for over 8 years, never will. We know this because they shifted focus off their games for their films, so the Nemesis system will just rot for another 12 years. Yeah. That's the problem with like patent and copyright laws. What the fuck am I looking at? Oh my. Ex-soldier raids animal shelter with assault rifle and full tactical gear to get cat back. He launched a one-man raid on an animal shelter after he believed that his missing cat was being held at the facility. Honestly, perfectly reasonable. Perfectly reasonable. More words? I mean, do y'all want... Oh my god, y'all perfect. Do y'all want more words? Okay, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. All right, chat. You got to keep it up. You got to keep it up. I believe in y'all. That's 3 perfects in a row. New record. New record. Let's go. Everybody on their A game. Everybody on their A game. Go, 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 go. Really wish it worked more trademarks. If they don't use it, you don't get to keep it. Yeah, if it wasn't used in like a year or wasn't within maybe 5 years. If it wasn't used within like 5 years, it defaults or something. Oh, hello. Okay, the Emma Frost cosplayers have come out of the woodworks. Oh, and I see exactly who retweeted this. What do you have to say for yourself, Zozo? What do you have to say for yourself? A 7 out of 10 RPG is better than a 10 out of 10 sports game. That is correct. That is logic is flawless. Hi, Yellow Buster. Welcome in. Here's the daily dad joke. Why didn't the Melvins get married? Because they cantaloupe. All right, you get one more like that. You get one more. One more, so help me. Stints. Ooh, I don't think y'all are gonna get perfect on this one, but at least you passed. One more. One more. Listen, I used to have a buddy named Juan, and we used to call him, whenever we'd ask him to do something, we'd always be like, please, Juan, you're the one and only. We need you for this. You're the chosen one. The funny thing was, too, is he hated it, but at the same time, when we did it, he would always smile like an idiot because it was so funny. We'd do like the whole, like, when it's 3 people just like doing like the whole pandering thing and like begging. All right, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. Come on, chat. I believe in you. New record. New record. Hi, Kono. Chat's going for the new record on words. So we're just going to keep going. You missed 2 words. Shaking my head. Shaking my head. Ooh, okay. We've made it to the one where they don't show the words until later. Ooh. Ooh. Penance? Ah, it doesn't seem like it's one. I can't form 5-letter words with the I'm scared. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's totally fine. Wait, what's the biggest stigma about Monster Hunter that you wish didn't exist today? That Rise was a bad game or swimming was a bad mechanic. Pick one. I'll argue for hours. Okay, Rise wasn't a bad game. It was just a poor choice to put Rise after World. If they released Rise and then World and then Wilds, that would have been perfect graphical progression. Monster Hunter has similarities to Dark Souls. This will unfortunately boil down to difficulty. Story is non-existent, so just skip. Lance being a tank / defensive weapon. HH is a support weapon. Hunting horn. Rise bad, World good. Devil Joe never ate his own tail. But Devil Joe's so cool. I like my Pickle Joe. Chat. No. Chat, are you gonna choke? Are you gonna choke? Up the ante. Up the ante. I believe in you. Taunts? Oh, there they are. I don't think taunt can be a word. Pattern. There you go. Is patter itself going to be a word? Yeah. No, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. No. Oh, shit, that was so close. Oh, no. Oh, man. Oh, that was so close. The 3 of y'all just absolutely nailing it, like right at the end. All right, let's put that away. Let's put that away for now. Y'all get another chance. Y'all get another chance at the next commercial break. If y'all do well in that one, I will let y'all keep going again. Oh my goodness. Wait a second. Oh, I hate this. Tried to connect printer from my Google Drive, and it made her agree to a terms of service. In order to use this service, you must agree to give Google Incorporated a permanent, irrevocable, worldwide, royalty-free, and non-exclusive license to copy, modify, translate, adapt, publicly display, communicate, distribute, etc. the content you provide to Google Incorporated through this service. Which means anything that you use from your Google Drive or scanned into your Google Drive is Google's. Software may have been a mistake, chat. Software may have been a mistake. How about no? Yeah, do we want to talk about like the horrors of the real world today? Is that what this is going to be? Thursday is usually a spooky day, and I know a video that we could talk about that basically shows like some of the like the worst stuff that has come of the software age. Like, I mean, we could go break out the thing about like car and like farming equipment software. Hi, Kono. That's how you get doxxed. How about no? How about Google can suck my ass? Ooh, works for me. But, well, I thought this was gonna be, hold on a second. Oh my. Oh my. But I have too much data. I'd rather pay the price for a disk than a monthly cost for storage. Agreed. Agreed. Teach us? All right, let me go find this video real quick. I believe it was called Problem with Modern Farming. I don't like the fact that when I put in modern, here it is, the rise of high-tech farming. How big tech ruined farming.
If you were in Las Vegas...
Nope, go back. Go back. All right, we'll watch that in just a little bit. I need to check some other stuff. Oh, nice art. Nice art. All right, let's put that away. That's a prawn bot. Thanks, prawn bot. I'm sure you're doing fantastic. Time to start filling Google Drive with every copyright thing you can find from companies well known to sue over them. Just like Disney scripts. That's all you do. You just start posting like Disney scripts. Okay. No, that ain't it. Load Nintendo's OSTs into the drive. But you can't really print those. It has to be something you can print for it to count for like that service. I'm pretty sure is like kind of the general idea. Upload the whole internet to Google Drive. I forget how much space do you have Nintendo Sheet Music then? That could work. Well, I think you can actually buy Nintendo Sheet Music. Because I'm pretty sure when I was learning to play the piano when I was young, we had sheet music of like the Mario Brothers theme. Of slowness, I cast fill Google servers with beans. What kind of beans? This is important. What kind of beans? What kind of beans are we talking here? Are we talking like dried beans? Are we talking like, are baked beans gonna come spilling out of Google servers? What's the deal? What's the shebang? What are you planning? Kidney beans? Ligma beans? God damn it. God, not the Ligma beans. Okay. I was trying to see if I could find something here, but it doesn't seem like it. It does not seem like it at all. Gosh darn it. Bacon has Ligma? I swear, there was a Ligma joke that got me the other day. What was it? I'm pretty sure it was on stream. Load up the EPUBs? What is that? What is that, Nizumi? I don't know what that is. Every kind of being no demand to every small crevice? Oh, no. Actually, for cloud storage that I could put anything on as OneDrive as Microsoft has geared it to business use, and if they disseminate stuff they stored, they'd be found in violation of numerous data protection acts and Canada be sued into the ground. It's probably not even just Canada. We'd probably also end up having like, oh, what was it? The, oh, I'm brain farting. France. France always being fairly sue happy when businesses think that they can get fucking haughty. Thanks, France. Thanks, France. Yeah, the EU would not be happy either. France is very much the one that's always like, you did what? You did what? Why the fuck did you do that? Get the lawyers. You think Disney's lawyers are scary? Imagine state lawyers from France. They're fucking French, my guy. Does that alone make them worse than Disney's lawyers? Chat. Does that make it worse than Disney's lawyers? I don't know if it does. I'm sort of confident it might. Okay. Sorry, chat. I'm trying to check. Invade France all we want, but never ever fight the French in a courthouse battlefield? Yeah, it's not gonna go well. It's not gonna go well with anyone. was gonna say, speaking of courthouses, but I don't think we want to bring up the what was it? The undermining of the international. Hold on a second. I just got a weather service alert. Severe thunderstorm warning. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, it is my county. Oh, shit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I would watch the fuck out of the stream that was Disney lawyers fighting Nintendo lawyers. Do you think that would be like the, like, what was the big wrestling event that just happened? Anybody remember? I'm gonna say, is it the, yeah, would it be the WrestleMania of lawyering? Is that what it would be? I feel like that's what it would be. All right. I'm almost done over here, chat. I promise. But... Okay. Lawyer Mania? Listen, Lawyer Mania would go hard. Might go round and round and round like a tornado. It'll be fine. There's no tornado warning. Also, usually the funny thing is there's actually a town near me that like all the locals notoriously make fun of. Because anytime we have tornadoes or anything, it's typically that town that gets absolutely fucking blasted. So anytime there's a tornado warning, almost everybody in town, in like the neighboring towns, is always like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. It's just gonna hit blank. It's just gonna hit blank. Those people are used to rebuilding. To the point where like every house out there now is fucking stone. Crystal Rose, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Oh, we heard the news on, yes, yeah, we were talking about it earlier. It's Blizzard, a Blizzard employee is going to become the CEO of Discord. And the old CEO actively admitted that the plan is to eventually make Discord a public tradable company, which I'm going to go ahead and say is going to be terrible. It's going to be awful. Almost guaranteed. Nice. Rat bastard. I got followed by somebody called I only follow the breedable. Motherfucker. All right. There's a town, Oklahoma, that gets hit by a tornado almost every year. It's so bad you don't see young people living there. They moved away. Yeah, because why live in a place where you're not rebuilding for sustainability? You're rebuilding cheaply so that you can just rebuild again. It's stupid. It's like people that don't build fucking flood-proof houses in Florida. Why? Why? Why do you do this? Why do you do this to yourself? Why do you suffer year after year? Not even followed by at Dark Carnival shaking my head. Do I need to make a business page like that? Oh. I don't know if y'all heard that. That was thunder. So heads up, if stream cuts out, it's because my internet died. Power probably went out then. Living in a place where the weather actively tries to kill you every year is exactly viable. Isn't exact. It is. No, the thing is, the thing is it is viable. It is quite viable. We have the technology, the know-how, and the will to make it happen. To make it happen. To be able to live in these places without having to rebuild from these various disasters. Earthquake-proof buildings exist. Buildings that can survive hurricanes and tornadoes exist. Flood-proof building for lots is not that hard. Joplin, is that Missouri? I think Emo's Missouri. Got rocked by a tornado a couple years ago. Yeah. True, it won't take the PC. The PC won't power off because of the battery. Hi, Coco. Welcome in. Yes, I know this one. What? Oh no. Oh no. A live action movie adaptation of The Mortuary's Assistant has begun filming, starring Willa Holland and Paul Sparks. I have no idea who Willa Holland is. Yeah, she was in the Arrow, she was Legion, she's in the OC, Gossip Girl. I no idea. No idea who this person is. Oh, I hear the rain. I hear the rain. Okay, who's Paul Sparks? Yeah, I don't know this guy either. I don't know this guy either. He does actually kind of look like the mortuary guy that's in that game. Who are these people? They're actors, apparently. Supposedly. Supposedly. But if we made buildings earthquake proof, then we can't force people to pay thousands to rebuild them. Smash. Or, you know, insurance companies always guaranteeing that they only pay out enough or what the house was initially worth. And because that they're constantly stuck in a loop of repairing and rebuilding their houses, they essentially infinitely have to keep paying for things. The heck is this? Oh, okay. But yeah, there's... Interesting. Okay, insurance companies actively making a problem so they can profit? Always! Not to mention the fact that they've literally gone mask off since like the wildfires in California by actively just dropping people as the fire approached their house. That's insane. That's absolutely batshit. Can you imagine if you were like, in the case of like you standing in your front yard, you have nowhere to go, your house is surrounded by wildfire, and you're just like, well, I guess it's gonna get to my house, it's gonna burn it down. At least I have you, State Farm. And you're like, your fucking insurance agent is standing next to you, and he's like, oh yeah, about that, and just hands you a piece of paper that says denied or like canceled on it, and you're just like, what does this mean? What do you mean? Luigi's over the next few years? In Minecraft, it wouldn't be the worst thing. In Minecraft. I'm sure it won't be that bad. Totally. Just don't name me. Just don't name me as an incentive. But I'm checking some other stuff, but I'm not finding exactly what I'm looking for. I guess? Question mark? Question mark? And that was in 98, I think. Housing should not be a commodity. Correct. I believe the fires are caused by the insurance companies to cancel policies. Does that count as a reverse conspiracy? Is that what that is? Like a good neighbor, hold it right there, Chief. We're dropping you. What the fuck? Are you saying that's like it's one of their commercials, and instead they like pop up before they finish the jingle and tells them, oh my God, why has nobody made that skit? Why has nobody made that skit yet? Y'all remember the old commercials for State Farm where like somebody would do the jingle and then like an agent would just appear? Right? Y'all remember that, right? Like a good neighbor, we hate your face. Insurance, but that would mean we have to pay you. Means you have to not give us your money. What do you mean we have to give you the service that we promised? It's not fair. All right. All right, chat. Are you ready to see this video of what I was talking about earlier? The HOA treasurer? Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that so much. Okay. State Farm, whatever it was, will help you if you have problems, unless there's a list of any known problems of mankind. And if it's a problem we don't know, then it'll also be uninsured. Yeah, that's what we like to call an act of God, if you will. All right, chat. This is going to be what I was talking about with, like, we brought up like the Google printer thing with them laying claim to, like, I guess all the stuff that comes through that service. This is going to be a different problem. This is going to, in this case, this video is likely going to pertain mostly to farming equipment and such. I'm sure this person, if they don't, they probably will though, will also tie it into the car industry, because the car industry is also doing the same thing. So if you're ready to get mad at corporations again with me.
If you were in Las Vegas in January 2023, sitting in the audience of the opening keynote of CES,
there we
perhaps
go.
the most
There we go.
influential tech conference,
wait, are those
in the
all
world,
Nikon bags?
You likely had one question on your mind.
Were there grab bags here? Oh.
After all, they're the tractor company, right?
Ugh.
They make machines that push and pull and move and dig. That's their thing, right?
Sure,
Well,
but they're not
according to
the
their
only
CEO,
company, and they're
John
fucking
May.
terrible.
We've quickly become one of the world's leading robotics and AI companies. Our solutions leverage technology
Sure, I'm all for
like
automation.
computer vision, advanced sensing and compute, machine learning, and data analytics.
Yeah, that's
There's
cool.
one key word there.
That's cool if you could automate
Solutions.
farms.
That's a word that gets thrown around a lot by
Ah,
companies
yes,
like
solutions.
Apple.
Logic Pro provides
Hold
a
on.
great solution.
A sophisticated lens solution.
This solution helps deliver.
Microsoft.
We provide an end-to-end tooling.
Hold on. I want him to get through all 9 of these.
Solution.
The best end-to-end solution.
Google.
Okay, I think he's only gonna do the 6. Anytime they use solution, it usually means reducing manpower to some degree. Our solution, ban your solutions. Solution can be it could actually be, of course, everybody in elementary school learns you have a problem, there's a solution for it. That makes sense. The thing is these people make up a solution for a thing that isn't a problem, or they've made up a problem and then made a solution for it. Crispy billionaire. Can we fry them instead of burning them? Is that allowed? I want to know how delicious and fatty a like country fried billionaire is. We were going to pay them. Yep. Yeah, there's actually never a problem. Or like they throw this in the worst way possible, and I promise you, it will be the worst way possible.
Bespoke AI solutions.
Open sourcing solutions.
Oh nope, they're gonna keep going.
Great solution.
This linguistic mimicry, their
Yeah,
mere
Gemini
attendance at
AI.
an event like CES, it's all peculiar for a tractor company. Unless,
Yeah, why is it?
does John Deere think it's a tech company? Well, yes, they do. At least according to themselves.
Okay. I know what he's doing with it. He's saying that like he's trying to like demean the idea of like farming equipment and what technology relates to. Farming companies are technology companies. Anything that's producing a machine is a technology company. Would be really fatty. That sounds awesome though, then Marissa. Hi Stevie, what's up? Hi Jade. The thing is though, is farming has always been at a forefront of technological advancement. I mean, just kind of imagine what farming was like 100 years ago. Because capitalism inherently requires guaranteed obsolescence, because if a product lasts, then it means product isn't being sold. Yep. It's not bad. And like they've already shown that like there's like the quote AI solutions. This is not the AI you think it is. These are machine learning algorithms that can scan a plant and automatically know like what it needs to do, how it needs to respond to the plant's conditions. That shit is awesome. That is an awesome way to lead into high-tech farming. High-tech, possibly, likely unmanned farming. Like, that shit's great. That shit sounds awesome. However, we will get to the caveat of what John Deere has decided to do to guarantee that they get their money for this.
in this LinkedIn post sharing an article entitled John Deere.
I don't walk into
We're
a farm for a
technology
phone.
company. And that assertion appears increasingly less absurd. While the company lays
I mean,
off
yeah.
hundreds in its manufacturing
Fun
plants,
fact, they're
it's
also a,
simultaneously
they're a
staffing
software
up
company
its
too.
Tech divisions. Of 15 current US job listings, 12 are in software, data, or robotics.
Yeah.
Just 3 in manufacturing. The company has been going through a metamorphosis
Wait, is their
from one
headquarters
that
in
makes
Illinois?
machines to one that
Damn.
makes solutions. Apple,
We'll
for
never beat the
instance,
Furby
does not
paradox, so
merely
capitalism
make
exists.
computers
Also
or
correct.
phones or tablets. They make integrated technology solutions, blending software, hardware, and services into an ecosystem that envelops one's
Yes,
digital
the
experience.
Google Circle.
Correspondingly, John Deere no
And then
longer
there's the
merely
movie, The
makes
Circle, about a
tractors or
cult tech
combines or
company
loaders,
inside a circle
but
building.
rather integrated
I'm sure that's
production
fine.
solutions, blending software, hardware, and services into an ecosystem that envelops a farmer's day-to-day experience. At the extremes,
Yeah.
the company appears entirely disconnected from its original form as a small Illinois
Solutions.
storefront selling shovels and pitchforks. Never could John Deere himself have imagined that
It's okay though. Trust me. We'll get to the point. We'll get to the but
But waxing nostalgic about humble beginnings would mask what the company now truly is. It's not an endearing family business. It's not a
It's a
scrappy
corporation.
underdog. It's a market-domineering behemoth. It has the business of
The thing, too, is-
agriculture,
hold on a second.
especially in America.
if anybody doesn't know how the category tiers of farming equipment, John Deere is like the Lamborghini of farming equipment. In more ways than one. In so many more ways than one. It's expensive. It costs a hell of a lot. It's high performative. Good. That's pretty good. It doesn't last very long. They break down or you run into problems and end up spending more money on John Deere products than you initially paid the cost for. You've never heard of them? Yeah, that's because they're an American brand, Ordain. They're an American brand. I'm guessing, I don't know if the Netherlands produce their own tractors, but if they don't, y'all probably use German brands. I know there's a German brand that makes really good tractors that are both good and affordable and long lasting. Maybe it's either German or French. I remember their color palette being red and white, but I can't think of the brand name. Yeah,
And
they're
a
made to break.
stranglehold.
They're
And
made to
might
break, and then
Apple
you will
with
see why
consumer
that's even
electronics.
worse.
But farming is
If you
not
can't
something
tell,
you
it's
pick
the
up or
Apple
put on.
problem.
It's not one's
John
digital
Deere
experience.
is the
It's
Apple
one's
problem of the farming
entire
industry.
experience. It's your job, it's where you live, it's what your family does, it's what your neighbors do, it's what your descendants do.
But also,
It is
Let's
an
Go Greatest invention was
all-encompassing way of
putting
life whose
AC
future is
into
now being
a
dictated
tractor.
by one tractor company that's decided it's big tech. But John Deere's power, their influence, their ability to change the
That's also
course
a
of
much older
history
John Deere
has been
tractor than
centuries
modern
in
ones.
the making. It started with this, the
plow.
self-scouring steel plow. Plows had existed in some form for millennia. So many millennia, in fact, that we can't even say how old they are. But by the 1800s,
Was
they
that
had
2
been
cows, or did
refined
that
and
cow have
refined
8
into
legs?
This, a single piece
Our own
cast
farming
iron
equipment for the carnival.
These could be pulled by an
I mean, yeah,
animal
ours are
and
made out of
would
bones and
efficiently loosen
screams.
the soil to bring nutrients to the surface before
How did you
planting a fresh
how
crop.
did you think
And
we
these worked
grew all the
great
food for the mess
time.
hall?
Except for here, the American Midwest. The soil of Illinois and
yes.
its neighbors was thick, moist, and rooty, in a fashion that would lead it to clump on the plow, forcing farmers to stop every once in a while to clean it off. But John Deere had an idea. He would manufacture the same plow, but of polished steel. This cut straight through the Midwestern ground with far greater ease, and the soil would shed right off rather than clump. While he was
Okay.
not the first to invent this concept, he was the first to start manufacturing a steel plow en masse, and his production steadily grew into the hundreds per month, and later, thousands. This
Mules.
innovation played an instrumental part in spreading agriculture across the region and transformed
I can't go there,
John
you can't go to
Deere
the
from a mere
Midwest? Okay, I
shop
can't go to the
into a
Midwest
growing
either.
manufacturer. By the turn of the century,
go back
after
to
the company
Idaho.
had passed
I
through
can't
the
go back to
generations of the
Idaho.
family, Deere had become a leading agricultural implements manufacturer, but the industry landscape
I
was
wonder, were they
changing
only
beneath them.
manufacturing
Like the plow,
plow
tractors,
part?
as a concept, had long existed. Through the 19th century, it was typically animals
I live in the
like
Midwest.
horse or
Help!
oxen that pulled
Yeah, they're
plows
currently
and
trying to
other
kill out the
implements, yet
Midwest. Don't
around
you
the
know,
world,
Sylvie?
Across industries, animal power was being replaced by steam power. Whereas horse-drawn stagecoaches
They're trying to force people to either move into more urbanized areas so they can work in the factories again.
Steam-powered tractors could replace
Isn't that
animal power
great?
on farms.
Forgetting
And they
that
certainly could.
they kind of
The
need rural
technology
areas to grow
existed,
food.
but steam-powered tractors never became ubiquitous due to their high upfront and operating costs.
Yeah.
But with the turn of the century came
The
gas
big old chunky
cheaper to
steam
buy,
engine tractors.
cheaper to operate. Popularity exploded.
Listen,
And while Deere
listen, guys. We're maxed out at about 15 miles an hour, but goddamn, do we have torque for days? Ain't nothing gonna stop us. We don't need to grow food. We get that from the other countries. Oh wait, yeah. Actually, I don't know the percentage of how much food is grown in the U.S. I do know that we still throw out a third of our food, so
originally
you know.
reluctant to stray beyond their agricultural implement.
Actually, hold on.
They eventually realized.
Again, we're gonna cover this again in chat. Remember, if you're American, you should be ashamed of yourselves. One, because I am. Go for steam power. You go for like 10 kilometers an hour, but you got multiple Ford F-150s of torque. Hell yeah. But it's in the United States. Americans throw away about a third of the food that they buy at the grocery store. Grocery stores throw away about a quarter of the food, if not more, of what they bring into the store. Not counting the food that was harvested, that is also thrown away because it doesn't meet the arbitrarily set standards of the corporations that buy the fruits and vegetables and such. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it's something like somewhere between 55 and 70% of all grown and or raised food is thrown away at some step overall. Can't throw out food if you don't get any more food to replace it. Time to go dumpster diving behind the supermarkets. Just remember, kids, if you're broke as shit and you can't afford food or you want to save money on food, go check out the grocery store after closing. Go check out their dumpster. Sometimes they throw out shit. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much still packaged shit that they just pile into a dumpster. Or Krispy Kreme. Apparently Krispy Kreme is prone to throwing out their donuts if they're older than like 2 or 3 days.
That they had no
in like the
choice if they
prepackaged
wanted to
boxes.
stay relevant. They tried to design
So if you
their
like
own,
sugar,
and it was plenty capable, but it was just not competitive. At about twice the price of
this
that
is those because transport storage images in place are trash. Correct.
Commercial success.
It's not. Hold on. That's also another part that doesn't count. I didn't count all the stuff that is either lost during transport or rots during storage. Again, that's why those percentages are so high. Between 55 and 70% of food grown in America, or basically in general, this is in general. This is along the entire fucking supply line, is lost, which is in fucking sane. They put bleach on their trash. I mean, if the product's sealed, just remember to check it. You never know. You never know. You never know. It could happen. They do. Some places do that, Jade. I promise you they do. But it couldn't hurt to check if you're desperate enough. Yeah, but I also wouldn't be surprised though. Hi, Tag. I wouldn't be surprised though if they like make employees like stab a knife through the packaging of the food. If they're what's the word? Malicious enough. Yes, malicious enough to do that. There's a guy in the Mage Game who has a spy network of homeless people who informed him because he buys the food from grocery stores that are about to be thrown out for pennies and hands it out. Nice. Highly fined if you did that here. If you, when dumpster diving, or if you were like doing the thing of like throwing out good food, like stabbing it and then pouring bleach over it. Is it the bleach thing? What if we gave away the food for free instead? But we can't do that. That's socialism. We can't do that, Metal. We can't do that. That's bad because I don't actually have an answer written down. I'm just told it's bad. Here's one that I got from an old boss. He says, if we give the food away and people get sick, they'll sue us. That's a pathetic ass answer, boss. I'm sorry to tell you that. Won't be getting anything to replace that food you're throwing out anyway. Yeah. And you're spending more money to throw bleach on it and wasting time by having to like stab all of the products. They give it away. They can't write it off as much as just throwing away as a loss. Also, hold on. I'll be right back. Give me just a second. I'm going to go slump for a second. Okay, sorry about that. Somebody is popped in to use the bathroom. But I just looked outside. It's so fucking dark, chat. It's so fucking dark outside. Well, you won't be getting anything to replace the food that you're throwing out anyway. To confirm my set dollar amount when they can claim insurance in case something goes wrong. Heard about the abandoned grocery store? Yes, the Mahia grocery store, right? By the EPA and FDA because it was so rotten. I'm pretty sure it was the Mahia grocery store. I actually know exactly where that grocery store is. I know exactly where that grocery store is. The thing was, though, yeah, the Mahia supermarket. So the thing with that supermarket, if anybody doesn't know this story, the Mahia supermarket had shut down 6 weeks prior to this particular date. So understand this, it is permanently closed. All of a sudden, local businesses and local neighbors started noticing an extremely, yes, in Fort Worth, an extremely disturbing smell. Smelled like death, basically. People were extremely concerned. And like nobody could find the source for the longest time. Eventually, it was found to be coming from the Mahia supermarket. The neighborhood decided to call the police because they were like, maybe somebody died inside. Maybe like there's a murder victim or something inside. So we're going to call the police. Yes. What happened was the previous owners of the Mahia supermarket, when they shut down, didn't tear anything down. They didn't remove any produce or any products from the shelves. They turned off the lights, took everything that they thought was valuable and left. They left everything. Let me see if I can find a picture. Because there was people that went in with a camera. Yeah, here's the picture of the Mahia supermarket from the outside. Here's the inside when they went in and all the products are still on the shelves. Here's the poor guy in a hazmat cleaning it. Yeah, here it is. Nothing was donated. But I'm trying to find... Here's like a picture. That's corn. That's supposed to be corn. It's hard to tell, but it's supposed to be corn on a shelf. There is a video, I believe, online somewhere of... Oh, the heck? Oh my god, no. Somebody made the Mahia supermarket and this is Gmod. An unpleasant cleanup. Oh yeah, it was bad. It was really fucking bad. The thing was, things were mixing and rotting together. That okay, here's the dairy section that I remember seeing the video of. Yeah, dairy and shit was just left. They just turn off all the refrigeration and left. And it gets nailed that night by a raid. Oh. Yeah, you can see in front of you, the smell was like literally impossible to plug your nose from. I'm pretty sure it was 6 weeks. I don't think it was great, like multiple years or anything. Let's actually go back real quick. Because Life After People Wiki. Okay, let's see. Abandoned July 1999 when the owners of the grocery store went bankrupt, albeit with the food not removed from the building prior to bankruptcy. When was... Began reporting horrible scents emanating from the supermarket. The city's Department of Environmental Management was called to the site, discovered the sheer volume of vermin inhabited the building, such as flies and rats, meant that the building couldn't be simply demolished or burnt down, as doing so would cause the animals and insects to escape and infest homes and businesses nearby. High levels of noxious and toxic gases were also escaping the building, being generated by the decaying materials inside. This escalated to the point that nearby residents couldn't operate their air conditioning or risk pulling the dangerous chemicals inside their homes. Yeah, it was the biobomb is the thing that I remember, but it doesn't look like they have. Here it is. 3 months. 3 months was how long it rotted. And let's see. Here's Jesus. You can't even tell because of the 90s camera. Here's folks there to clean it up. Rotten meat in packages. I think that's a freezer section. I think that's supposed to be a freezer section. Those are like pre-bagged meats of some kind. There's the dairy picture again. This says fruits, but I was giving it the benefit of the doubt and thought it was corn. Oh, not that. That's not the... You talking about this one? This one to me looked like it was like frozen fried chicken. Like, you know, like whenever there's like chicken tenders. But yeah, again, the video's from 1999. You could find it. Partially found footage.
3 months after people. In the time of humans,
this is way better quality. What the
horrifying
fuck?
scene had already played out in one American city.
Okay, that's not the real footage. That's
in
mine.
1999, in Fort Worth, Texas, a grocery shop went bankrupt. The owners decided to abandon the shop, leaving everything inside. Within weeks, neighbors began to notice
Oh,
a
it's a bunch of
horrible
Mexican
stench.
cheeses. I forget what those are called. They start with O.
3 months
Oaxaca?
after it closed,
Something like
the
that?
city's Department of Environmental Management entered the
Fresca.
shop and discovered a gastronomic nightmare.
They could be. I would not
The
eat them
smell
after
was
being inside a
extremely bad
biobomb
outside,
building.
And we really don't have an accurate report about what it was inside because we always
Oaxaca?
put people in protective gear before we
Yeah,
went
yeah,
in.
Workers in hazmat suits and oxygen masks began the process of clearing up the toxic mess.
It was extremely dangerous. We did not know
10,000
exactly
bits?
what
What about
type of
10,000
bacteria
bits?
may be in there. We knew that there were some potential disease
10,000
issues.
bits?
You saw mice, rats, anything
Oaxaca?
that would live off of garbage or decaying matter is
Oaxaca?
what you saw. And the report was it was so bad that you could not see the hand at the end of your arm. The flies were so thick.
Each
Hate
aisle
that.
they turned down brought a new and nasty surprise.
Things like the apples and lettuce and bananas that had already rotted.
Oh, those look like
You could
carrots.
see where those had been eaten or gnawed on. Several of the milk containers had swollen and exploded just because of the decaying gases. The packaged meats looked like it hadn't been touched, but a lot of it was this grayish black.
The bologna looks fine, guys. The bologna looks fine. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to the farming thing. Nat, shut up about the natural cheese.
Cold, so John Deere rather elected to just simply buy their top competitor. With that, the Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company was folded into John Deere, and over the following years,
Oh.
their tractor, the Waterloo Boy, enjoyed wild success. Once again,
yes,
like
so
with the
just,
self-scouring steel plow,
you have a successful business. We'll just buy you out, huh? Yeah, we're just gonna buy you, but we don't want to be bought. Too bad, we own you now. That's also the downside of being a publicly traded company, chat, in case you didn't know.
Deere didn't invent
Hostile
the technology,
takeovers are a
but they
thing.
popularized it. They identified the opportunity, scaled up manufacturing, marketed successfully, and helped transform the tractor from a
boardrooms are
niche, novel
fucking nightmares.
technology into the solution for moving power on the farm.
I don't know why,
Over
but
the
for some
decades
reason
that
to me, the
followed,
steering
company
shaft
transformed
is so
again from
goofy
primarily
looking.
an implement company into
Enjoy
a
your
machine
friend.
company, offering combines and
What's the
balers and
Waterloo-
planters and
Waterloo girl?
sprayers,
It's fine.
essentially anything you needed to turn a field into a farm. Through much of the 1900s, they were always a significant but underdog player in the industry. Until the 60s
Also,
and
hold on a
70s,
second.
100s, they were always a significant.
Look at that corn silo. Also, those are some big fucking pigs, guys. Jesus. But that corn silo is actually kind of cool. I've never seen a silo like that. An open air silo. There was probably a reason they stopped using these. There's almost certainly a reason. Probably because like birds and shit were getting in.
Significant but underdog player in the industry until the 60s and 70s, where their primary competitor, International Harvester, began.
Wait. Chat? Is this another one of those moments where I say we need to go back? Because this storefront is fucking cool. There's actually a furniture store in my town that looks actually quite a lot like this. It's very cool.
began to falter.
It's very cool.
And with its collapse in the 80s, John
Look at
Deere
that,
took
then they're
a
hogs.
firm lead in the industry, becoming the go-to ubiquitous source of agricultural equipment in the United States.
True, but they're also
then,
expensive as
another
dirt as fucking
monumental
hell.
shift in the field.
Expensive as
Like the
sin.
tractor introduced the mechanical era of farming, information technology introduced farming to the digital age. And again,
That is a
John
big
Deere had
cab.
to
I just
adjust
realized how
on the
big the
fly.
cab on that tractor
It
is.
started on June 23rd, 1995, when Rockwell International Corporation, traditionally a U.S. defense manufacturer, unveiled its proprietary vision system, effectively firing the first
Satellites?
shot of the digital farming revolution. It seems so simple now, but Rockwell's vision system was poised
Decades
to
of sliding into
a
corporate
new
minimalism has
age
made
of
everything
efficiency by using
suck.
defense
Yeah.
satellites to pinpoint and track a tractor from above, which in turn would allow a farmer to better monitor
Around the
their
90s, they
field's
expected
yield, or
private.
when it came time to plant, better disperse seeds.
No,
and
not
spray
expensive as
chemicals.
dirt can get
Precision farming
expensive.
had arrived,
Dirt can get
and while
expensive. You ever
Rockwell was
seen
the
mulch?
first, competitors such as Case Corporation and AGCO Corporation were close on the company's heels. So too is Deere, which took it one step further.
What'd they do?
To the late
What have they
90s
done?
American farmer, GPS and precision agriculture was a handy tool, but still a finicky, expensive, and difficult to use luxury. It helped.
When are they going to make a harvester that also has the baler on the back?
Not until Deere made it a practical necessity. As they did when developing their tractor, Deere looked further afield for help. They started at Stanford, where the company collaborated with engineers.
Wait, I
to
think that one
develop
actually does have the
autonomous
baler on the back. Wait, I'm
GPS-controlled
stupid.
tractor. While it worked, it didn't
Tractors
work
like
well
Indianapolis and the
enough to
Lean
take
used to be.
market.
That's what I was talking
The problem
about. Yeah,
was,
I said that
1990s
earlier too, that they were the
GPS just
Lamborghini of
wasn't
tractors.
accurate or dependable enough. So, more partnerships.
Can't even buy
Now
carnival
Deere,
dirt merch. The
along with
prices are
Navcom
insane.
Technology and NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab sought to figure out how to create
$10
a more
per
reliable
carnival
positioning
mud.
system to support not just yield maps, but autonomous
It's rich in
guiding.
iron.
The former a helpful tool.
Don't
the
ask
latter
where the
a
iron
potentially
concentration comes from.
Revolutionary product. While autonomous guiding may have seemed a lofty ambition, its use case was well grounded. Before the rise of precision farming, farming was, well, remarkably imprecise. Take, for instance,
I just heard a car door.
actually
Hold on a
planting
second.
field. Now, laying down seed is actually a rather complicated process with a host of decisions to make and factors to consider, from when to seed to how to establish then plant the
Okay, I
field's
don't think it was
headlands and
anything.
borders. But regardless of such considerations or what crop one is even
Hey,
planting in the
listen,
first
dirt
place,
merch.
each and every farmer,
Listen,
since
someday
the
some
dawn
VTuber,
of the
I'm sure, will
tractor,
start
has
selling
dealt
dirt.
with one major inefficiency: overlap. In farming,
Hey, the tractor's fast
overlapping
enough to
is
serve also
practically
as a car?
unavoidable.
Damn.
As a tractor operator threads rows back and forth across their field, it's nearly impossible for there not to be slivers of field, whether it be where rows meet headlands or just between rows themselves, where the farmer doesn't pass over a small section twice. And considering the
Okay.
alternative, what farmers call sparing, this makes sense. If a farmer is to miss a small sliver entirely during drilling, there will, of course, be no crops. If they miss it with
During
pesticides or
drilling? What do you mean
fertilizer,
drilling?
the section's yield will drop. If they miss it during harvesting, well, that'd be an expensive and embarrassing mistake too. So, farmers overlap, but they try to do so as little as possible. Experience helps with this, as
Okay.
hours in the chair, along with a long-established sense of pride in maintaining straight
Hours in the
rows,
chair.
keeps overlap down. So too do generally normal rectangular fields should a
There ain't no way in hell that this is anything more than a fucking promo shoot. I don't think there's a farmer in the goddamn world that, one, can afford to have 7 of these harvesters, or 2, have all 7 of them side by side. This is a John Deere promo if I've ever seen one. Also, they're slanted. I hate it. They're slanted. They're not going with the rows. And they're doing it in the middle of the fields. I can tell that off to the left and the right, well, the right actually may be harvested. I can't tell exactly, but even then they're slanted. The left definitely isn't harvested. Upset.
farmer have such a luxury. And then there are tricks. Spray foams to mark areas already hit, guideposts along fences for visual reference, thoroughly laid out tractor paths calibrated to align with the width of the farmer's equipment. But tricks only go so far. One study has put numbers on the overlaps. Across the study's 17 locations,
How you gonna
and
fucking
4
turn
years of
smart guy,
planting,
huh?
The combine driller
One at a
overlapped
time.
at 7.7%, spin disc fertilizer at 9.5%, while the sprayer overlapped at 15.7%, and the cultivator reached 19%.
Oh.
Every step of the process of growing something, then,
Okay.
the farmer's overlap is costing
Jesus.
them 8% of their seed is being wasted, 10%
I think my
of
power
their
just
expensive
flickered for a
fertilizer is
second.
being
I don't know if the
overapplied,
internet's gonna
nearly
disconnect.
16% in pesticide and herbicide is doing more harm than good, and almost
The battery just made a loud thunking sound, and I think I either had a long blink or my lights flickered.
This means more material. It also means more fuel. It means more time in the field and in the chair.
Okay.
It means more hours put on the machines, and therefore more hours in the shop and fewer
Yeah, when the
functional
battery
seasons.
goes off, it kind of
Such
scares
costs
me. I'm not
really
gonna lie,
add
because
up,
it does
as a
like this
bad year
loud
will see
thunk.
costs outpace
Hi, it's
income,
Akron.
while 10-year averages, in the case of 2010 to 2019, will only net meager 11.8% profit margins. With such touchy and tight finances,
Okay.
unnecessarily wasting 8 to 19% of one's time and money on overlapping is a massive inefficiency, one that Deere was seeking to address at the dawn of a new century.
Yes, welcome
The
to
answer was called
2005.
Starfire, which, by correcting notoriously inaccurate GPS data with ground
Starfire,
location data,
as in the
offered
Teen
farmers
Titan?
field mapping accurate to within 3 feet or 1 meter, rather than the 10 to 30 foot or 3 to 10 meter accuracy of traditional GPS. With further work on the product, by 2004, Starfire 2 provided accuracy within 1.5 inches or 4.5 centimeters.
What?
Through the collaboration with Stanford,
That's
NASA,
insane.
and Navcom, who they eventually
That's actually
acquired,
insane.
Starfire
Hold on.
positioned the company again on the cutting edge
Teen
of
Titan,
precision
Starfire?
farming revolution.
Yeah, Starfire.
Not only did their product provide superior accuracy for yield and seed mapping, it was accurate enough to address the fundamental inefficiency of overlapping. Simply equip a machine with a Starfire receiver and a monitor, then purchase Deere's AutoTrack program, and farmers could now guide by precise lines laid out on a screen.
Did you hear it? Did you hear the words that he used? Install this new equipment in your tractor and then buy the subscription for it.
And even let the autonomous feature take the wheel. Today, through a combination of 6 uplink sites on 3 continents, 46 reference sites around the globe, and leased bandwidth from Inmarsat satellites, the Shovel and Pitchfork Company is able to provide
The
greater
Shovel and
accuracy than
Pitchfork
the
Company.
public global positioning alternative, optimizing every
How
single
are you?
thread
Fine,
and turn
thank
across
you.
a farmer's field. The influence
We will
of such
own
guidance
nothing.
can't be understated. Only 10% of farmers used any sort of auto steer and guidance system in 2004. But
Yeah,
as of
'cause it's
2019,
stupid.
those numbers stood in the mid 50 to 60% range. And on bigger
Christ.
1,000-acre farms with the economies of scale,
Hold on.
warrant the upfront cost.
But that also depends on what they count as auto steer and guidance systems. Auto steer could be anything from just keeping the tractor straight to just like, what is it? Like cruise control. Like maybe they just want to move at a certain constant speed so that they don't miss anything. Does turning on cruise control in a tractor count as guidance systems?
And the waste of overlap is only magnified, adoption rates of such systems have reached
Winter
over
wheat.
80%. By applying the same playbook they did with the plow and the tractor, embracing and perfecting new
Computer-controlled
technology
automatic
through
harvester isn't a
upfront
horrific
R&D
safety hazard
investment,
without
while also
an
acquiring
on-site
sector leaders
watching?
like Navcom, Deere helped push farming into
I mean,
a
it could
new
be.
epoch. But
I mean,
that
I would like
epoch
to
isn't
someday
over,
see
and Deere's only dug themselves
automated
further into the
farming. Like that'd be
digital
cool.
turn.
The thing
Across
is, though,
the dozen
is
American companies Deere has acquired.
hold on. Jesus, a dozen? Lesco, Bauer. I didn't know they bought Bauer. Bisco, Haggy, Orthman, Blue River. I swear I know Blue River from something. Smart Apply, Spark AI, Light AgriSync, Bear Flag Robotics, Harvest Profits. It doesn't guide it, no, but it keeps a constant state together. The question is if they counted it or not. When the Lorex came out and we laughed at the absurdity of paying for clean air, I missed when it was a joke. Yeah. Yes, Marissa, have you not been paying attention? That's what this whole thing's going to be about. This whole thing is about software. It's about John Deere turning into a software company. I was going to say, I always like the idea of automated farming. The problem is, though, corporations are heading it, and it's unaffordable to the average farmer typically without like renting or payment plans or essentially selling yourself into servitude for a corporation to continue producing food for one corporation and using equipment from another corporation. Let me go ahead and give y'all words on stream while I yap. I can't believe the carnival charges for use of the iPads. I don't charge y'all for the use of the iPads. All you have to do is check them out and make sure you return them. But Hybrid Fighter, where was I? Oh, the thing it's going to end up being is people are going to end up being the laborers and having none of the things. A company is going to own the crop that the farmer plants. The company is going to have the rights to that crop. And the equipment that the farmer, quote, has is going to be owned by the company that made it, as well as the software that runs it. Unless eventually we institute a universal basic income and then the food companies just partner with the tractor companies once they're like automated enough, then I'd say that's the point where we can just be like, yeah, okay, life is good. Life is good. Universal basic income and have the... Oh, Coco just came running in because it started raining really hard. That's what I was saying. They already own the crops. That's what I was saying. The farmers don't have the rights to the crops. The farmers have the rights to risk all of their livelihood on renting and or borrowing expensive equipment that they don't actually own. And that constantly sucks money out of them because they still have to pay the subscription for the software we're probably going to get to in a couple minutes. This just makes me want to play Farming Sim. I want to play Farming. Hi, LP. I want to play Farming Sim too. I have a couple Farming Sims, I think. Yeah, I have Farming Sim 22 on Steam, and I think I have 19 on, what was it? Monsanto? Yeah, who likes corn? Goes to the remote rainforest to claim the rights on genetic makeup on plants. I mean, Monsanto produces and genetically modifies plants for certain purposes, and then extorts the countries that have them in order to essentially maximize profits. There's another company that did that besides Monsanto, but I can't remember the name of it. I want to say they did it with like rice or soybeans. Was Monsanto the... Hold on. Was Monsanto the one that... I'm going to hide this real quick. Genetically modified rice. I think this was the one in India. Some company was making a rice, golden rice. There it is. Hold on a second. Hold on, I'm gonna open my blinds real quick. Give me just a second. Okay, it is pouring down out there, guys. I am 2.0 is currently a subscription service. Guess we gotta make our own. No! Not only tried to claim the copyright to the holiday. What? What? No, I don't remember that. Mahatma? Was it Mahatma? Mahatma's the rice brand, I know that. But essentially the goal was to the golden rice was essentially, I believe it was vitamin A deficiency in much of the Western world. So they basically tried to create a rice that had vitamin A that could help prevent like various types of famine as well as types of illnesses. But wait, where's the company? Sorry, it's not unknown to the West. It's unknown to the Western world. It was primarily for people in Bangladesh, China, India, and most of Asia. But because of the low vitamin A, it led to more than 500,000 cases of famine and blindness. When Pepsi Lay's was suing farmers all around. Yeah, because they're fucking potatoes. Because they laid claim to a breed of potato, which is so fucking stupid. Wait, what? For 20 years since it was created, golden rice has not been made available to those whom it was intended. So what happened? Golden rice is genetically modified organisms such as weighed down with political, ideological, and emotional baggage that has come to be associated with GMOs. Condemnation of genetically modified foods? It still hasn't said who's made it, though. This article doesn't say who made it. Okay, ready for use in 2022. Oh my god. Although now this article has now turned into claiming that because Greenpeace argued against it, it is on par with Greenpeace committing mass murder. Okay. Hold on. Hi, Aeon. That there's a vitamin deficiency that big. It's also because like a lot of the children in that country, the poorer children, according to this, they primarily eat like bowls of rice because it's most abundantly available. And rice by itself doesn't have a lot of vitamins. Because of a vitamin A deficiency, though, it causes blindness. Vitamin A deficiency. You need that sweet, sweet vitamin A, baby. Mountain cereal, gotta pay the consumption tax. Oh no. Oh yeah, Greenpeace and PETA went off the rails years ago. PETA is absolutely fucking useless. But yeah, it's also the failed understanding of a lot of places to understand what a GMO really is, can be, etc. GMO arguments are typically extremely stupid, but in my case, I'm not against the GMOs. I'm against the corporations. Yeah, if it had stuck longer than it didn't. Not to mention the times that should die in a ditch. I agree. I agree. And I will never understand why to this day it is still seen as some sort of authority on animal rights. Yeah, people don't realize that GMOs aren't bad. I mean, here, hold on. We're going to get the example. Let me find it. There's a famous, here it is. This famous Renaissance painting has the rough estimation of what a watermelon looked like before its, we'll call it genetic engineering, selective breeding. Carrots are another example. I'll show them carrots too. But watermelons prior to being modified and grown for the more favorable flesh were actually had like cells more often. The harder outer shell reached in and you would just end up with these various types of like smaller shells. A banana is a good one. Banana. There you go. A non-GMO banana is basically filled with stones, aka seeds, depending on where you're from. Lemons didn't make lemons, we did? Yes. Who knows what a blood orange is? Blood orange is everybody's favorite dark red orange. Blood oranges were made by a process called nuclear gardening back in the 50s. Essentially, there's actually, I could probably find a good picture. Yeah, here it is. Here was the test plot for nuclear gardening. That little thing in the center, you can kind of barely see it. And basically the cross section is a tiny nuclear reactor. A tiny nuclear source to expose these plants to nuclear radiation to see if they would adapt to survive or produce any sort of changes. It didn't last very long. I'm pretty sure the whole idea only lasted like 4 years, something like that. Is Julden hard to eat? Yep. So we can power the world and modify our farms? Yep. Let me see. Let's do the carrots real quick. We brought that one up. I'm sorry we keep side tangenting. That's not it. Carrots pre... Because they're basically these like... Yeah, there's the wild carrot. It's basically a root. It's basically a root. Let me find the... Yeah, there it is. If you ever go through like college or have a decent enough selective breeding understanding, you'll probably see an infographic like one of these. All of these different plants are grown off of were selectively bred from the wild mustard plant. Cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, kale, and kohlrabi are all part of the same family. They are technically all the same plant. They have been selectively bred for different particular traits. In case of kohlrabi, they were bred for the stem. For the case of kale, they were bred for their leaves. Broccoli, flower buds and stems. Brussels sprouts, the lateral leaf buds. And there's more. There's more than just these. There's actually a lot more plants that were grown off of the wild mustard plants. Have a bunch of crops produced off of it. Yep. What does bread have to do with this? Bread. I mean, we could look up like wheat selective breeding. Any questions? Any questions? How can I help you? It's just tasty grass. Yep. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Anyway, back to farming.
Since 2007, only
My joke
4
failed.
traditional hardware manufacturers. The rest
How selective
broadly are
is
in tech
bread?
and increasingly in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and automation. In 2017, for just north of $300 million, Deere purchased Blue River Technology, who had recently been testing their new product called See & Spray, what they called the world's first smart sprayer, which, by feeding hundreds of
I think
thousands
that's
of
why I
plant images
remember
through
this.
deep learning algorithms, was capable of identifying crops and weeds before then spraying herbicide within a quarter-inch accuracy. Not long after,
To guarantee that it was only on the
See & Spray
plants and there was no
Select
wasted
entered the
product.
market. Then, in 2022, See & Spray Ultimate became available for factory installation on 2023 model 410R, 412R, and 612R sprayers. With the camera positioned along every meter of the carbon fiber spray boom,
What
the
is the
product would reduce spray volume by 2/3,
pulse?
saving money on herbicides and, by extending trips between refills, saving time and fuel. The benefits of the next step in precision agriculture
Sorry, my lips are a
also
little
provided
chapped.
an environmental
Oh, good
benefit beyond
lord.
Farmer 2, as this product, the company projected,
I don't know if y'all
would
heard that
reduce
one. That one
the
kinda
airborne
shook the
drift of
house.
chemicals by up to 87% and chemical runoff by up to 93%.
What if we made
In
an
this new
algorithm?
era of
An
AI,
algorithm?
machine learning, precision farming, John Deere was not the first, as a Dyson subsidiary entered the smart spray space earlier. Nor is it alone, as Agzen, a commercial outgrowth of MIT research, is pushing into the space too. Whether
Oh.
John Deere wins out here, as they have so many times in the past with new technological innovations.
Yeah, because they keep
remains to be
buying
seen.
the companies that
Given their
make them.
history,
Algorithm?
it feels like a
Algorithm?
safe bet. Regardless
Talking
of
about the election
competition,
that got
though,
stolen?
this service, capable of plugging right into the broader John Deere ecosystem, should be a boon for the American
Or the,
farmer,
the
conscious
fact
of
that John
cost,
Deere is, we
yield, and
invented it!
overall environmental impact of
Like
their
Al
work.
Gore, I invented
Or
the
at
internet.
least that's what it would seem. By standard metrics, farming in the US has gotten better across
Are we
the
getting a
sector's
Dyson theory?
digital
No, they were
revolution.
talking about
We're
Dyson,
wasting
like
less,
the-
making better informed decisions.
I'd say
and growing
vacuum
more
company,
than
that
ever.
would give you the wrong
Just
idea.
Look at average yields for corn, soy, and cotton. But consider the position of the American farmer. In the past,
Okay, but how much
being
of that
an
are we
all-green
using?
farm that is
How much of
run
that is
strictly
actually
John
getting
Deere
used?
Equipment was a point of pride. Today, though, it's increasingly feeling like an expensive necessity without alternatives. Newfound
Oh, shit.
hyper-efficiency comes with a cost, or really a whole host
Oh,
of
shit.
costs. Say an Illinois solar farmer is sizing up purchasing a See & Spray attachment.
Okay,
Well,
my light
first they'll
didn't
have
turn
to have a fairly
completely
new
off,
sprayer
but
to
it
begin
got
with,
really
which if they don't
dim.
have will be in the ballpark of $50,000.
Chat, I think I may need
add on
to,
another $25,000 for equipment and install, which can only be done at
That
an
was
authorized
that was
dealership.
kind of scary.
Still,
I
given that
don't think my
soybean
modem went
pesticides
out though.
reached an
That's
all-time
good.
high
I don't
this
think my
decade,
modem went
coming in
out.
at $77 per acre in 2022.
Make the choo-choo
and
leap.
given that
Oh,
this farmer
no.
owns the medium-sized farm for the state at 4,500 acres, considering scale, such an
That was
upfront
weird.
investment
That was
may
very
well be
weird. I
worth
heard the
it.
battery kick in
Without See
too.
& Spray, pesticides would cost
No, I don't usually have bad electricity. It's just that
$350,000.
storm's really bad
With the
outside.
product, assuming it cuts spraying down to a third, a farmer would only need about $117,000 in pesticides. So with upfront costs, savings total
Nice.
about $62,000.
Do we need to pick up
But then
later?
another
I
cost.
don't, like,
See &
nah,
Spray
I think we
subscriptions
can-
cost $4 per acre.
I
So
think we can
cut
keep
out
going.
another
I think we're good.
$18,000, and the economics become
I think we're good.
slightly less appealing. And then there's the less tangible
Although it
costs.
feels weirdly like it's darker in
Fundamentally,
here.
precision agriculture is changing what it
The
means
light's
to be
still
a farmer.
on.
What was once an occupation defined by
Privatized
individual
power grids,
autonomy,
fantastic.
problem-solving,
Thanks,
and
Texas.
improvisation is now increasingly beholden to monitors, screens, software subscriptions, and the availability of manufacturer-authorized technicians. Undoubtedly, this is an issue of nostalgia.
I just saw lightning out the corner of my eyes.
And frustrating ways too. Consider the solar storms that pushed northern lights.
We'll go until the Wi-Fi explodes. Okay.
While it might have been a once-in-a-lifetime experience for farmers who stayed up late to see it, it caused far more costly problems when the storm knocked out their navigational systems. Just at the moment, farmers needed to be out planting
geomagnetic
their
storm. Get
navigation
wrecked.
systems failed them. While solar storms are few and far between, issues with software programs
hit him with the long dark. Oh no!
Than ever are far too common and far too difficult to get figured out for your lifelong farmer. Rather than hauling a tractor back to the barn to fix a hydraulic leak and get back out on the field that same day, when new era hardware fails, there's a good chance a farmer will be out of their depth if it's on the technology side of the machine, which, as the far more finicky side, it likely is.
Even then, if it isn't the technology side, he'll probably talk about this. John Deere actually, when I mentioned Apple earlier, basically John Deere being the Apple of farming equipment, is because you have to go to a John Deere approved mechanic to work on it. So many of the systems and issues with a tractor is like computerized now. So you can't even run a diagnostic tool to figure out what the problem is with the machine unless you go to a John Deere location or you call them and they come out to you, which is usually so understaffed that it could be weeks. It could be weeks until a rep comes out to be able to like check your repair and fix it.
So
yeah, fucking right to repair is insane.
A farmer is left waiting for an authorized technician who will be expensive to pay and costly on time, as it's unlikely they'll be available at the drop of a hat.
There it is.
And all that's without considering whether the farmer has the tools and information to make the fix in the first place, which is also a matter of contention.
Hey, Vice.
Across the past decade, John Deere has found itself
the tractor's
in the middle
easy
of
to
a
repair.
battle
It
of the right
lied.
to repair. For those savvy enough or bold enough to fix their own issues, they often need access to the diagnostic software to begin with, which is something Deere's been slow to hand over. Their stated reason to keep software
I feel like I have to burp, but it's not coming. It's not happening.
If they hand over the keys, they figure, their machines might get used and altered in ways they shouldn't. But for an increasingly boisterous farming community, this withholding of key information is simply another way to make sure that farmer is also on the hook for costly repair bills that make their way back to Deere, thus providing the company.
Businesses are obsessed now with making customers for life. They've gotten cocky. Businesses have gotten cocky, and now they're not just trying to make you buy one of their products. They're trying to make you a customer for life. They're trying to make sure that you only come to them, that you only buy their products. I just saw lightning out the corner of my eye again. The belching limbo, the discomfort of belching limbo. Until they tell corpos to stop sucking. I think we need to beat up more CEOs in parking lots.
Another revenue stream. Regardless as to who is really
I think
truth,
companies need to know they fucking suck.
Is that the farmer is as financially squeezed as
their heads gotten
with
too
the
big.
Rise of big tech and farming, they are
They've lost the goddamn plot on advancing humanity.
But Deere is facing their own financial pressure. Competition is
rising. What is the purpose of making your equipment better? Money?
Over the past
no.
decade, venture capital money has poured into startups that insist they can disrupt the world of
What
food
is
production.
that?
Whereas in 2013, there were 42 funds focused on the agri-food space.
Yay,
today
venture
there are almost
capitalism.
300, reaching a peak of 50.
Yay, venture capitalism. Sign up early for storm safety? No, we're not going to do it just yet. I think we're doing pretty all right. But if nobody knows what venture capital is, it's basically the idea of these are various firms and locations that have typically abundant amounts of money that donate into like little startups and stuff. They come in with like the expectation that like, yeah, this may be a good business model. Here's some money to make sure it happens. If you remember in about, 2010 or so, if not closer to that, 2012 or so, when Uber and like all those car shares, hi Fridge, welcome in, all those car shares and stuff were coming into existence. The reason car rides at the time were so fucking cheap was because of venture capital. It was because their bills were practically covered by investors and they weren't concerned. They just wanted to make their numbers look good so that line goes up. More people using the cars as often as possible, as cheaply as possible, looked good to their investors and had more venture capital coming in. It wasn't until after the venture capital money faded away and ride sharing lost its novelty, that the prices started flying up. Cryptid Wild Puppy, thank you for the follow. Also, Genesis Prism, I'm sorry I missed your follow. Thank you for the follow. Capitalism for thee, but socialism for me. I don't know if anybody knows this company. Does anybody know the company WeWorks? WeWorks. They were a company that tried to pretend like they were a tech company. They weren't. They were a real estate company. They sold office space. And recently, in like the last 5 years or so, wasn't their CEO a pest? Yes, he is. He's also basically a cult leader. He tried to turn the entire company into like a cult that followed and worshipped him. And his wife is a fucking weirdo and a psycho. But they had one of the largest venture capitalists in existence, a Japanese venture capitalist. I'm trying to remember his name. His name escapes me. Basically, he was known for becoming the richest man on the planet back during the .com bubble. He was momentarily the richest man on the planet for like a few days, and then the bubble popped, and then he wasn't. But he still made out like a bandit during that process with more money than he knows what to do with. So he gave essentially a blank check to WeWork because he genuinely believed in what they do. Because of situations like what happened with WeWork, and also WeWork is bankrupt now and shutting down and basically being sued left, right, and center. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. They essentially have started dubbing venture capital funds like these as dumb money. The problem is, though, is venture capital is so high and mighty that if they find a startup they like and decide that they're going to invest in it, and mind you, I say they because there are dozens, if not hundreds of firms. Yeah, there's over 250 funds here that this, according to this chart. They're dumb money, but they also tend to function like a clique. If one invests, more than likely others are going to invest. In obscene amounts of money, it typically guarantees that whatever startup that they decide to pick and give money to is guaranteed to succeed, unless, in WeWork's case, they are dumb as shit. I promise you guys, WeWork was dumb as shit. They were spending money like it was water on the dumbest things, from parties to these weird like culture things. It was insane. They had a process that they called activating the space. Now, mind you, WeWorks was a bunch of open concept offices rented to individuals or smaller local businesses. And it would allow people to sometimes intermingle and like work their businesses together in ways that may be useful. But activating the space was something that they would do when an investor was coming to check out one of the offices. So what they would do when they activated the space, it meant that they were throwing a party. It meant that an investor was coming. You have like maybe 2 hours to get pizza, get ice cream, get drinks, and set up the fucking party, because you are going to make it look like this is what we do every day. Kind of sounds like the people overseeing the construction of my local hospital. Hate that. Hate that I'm finding out that about a hospital. All right, let's get back to this though, guys.
$1 billion of investment in 2021.
53 billion
potential investors. The global share of land dedicated to agriculture is peaking as more and more of the world urbanizes. Yet simultaneously, the global population
but urbanizing
is expected
poorly
to continue increasing.
This is another problem with urbanization scaling too. Having farms closer to urban centers is fine. It's actually even better because then there's less time and less distance for farm to market. The problem is, chat, do you know what the problem is? It's something I've talked about a lot recently, of things that fucking suck. Suburbs. The answer is suburbs. Suburbs are poor, single layer urban sprawls that take up the max amount of land with the least amount of usage. meaning that fucking farms are getting further away, having less land, and becoming more expensive to use and manage. It's suburbs. The problem is always and forever probably going to be suburbs. Listen, suburbs can get better. Suburbs can change. They can become their own individual urban centers. The problem is, though, is more often than not, they don't care. They don't care. They just make awful fucking locations of nothing. You have a house, great. Where's the nearest place to go do something? Where's the nearest business? Oh, it's a laundromat? Great. Good fucking luck.
For at least half.
Don't even get me started on exurbs.
Therefore, it is objectively true that we will have
Hold on, I'm
to
getting
produce
started on exurbs. I'm getting started on exurbs so I can make sure y'all understand this. All right. Exurbs, baby. Because this is another dumb thing that people fucking do that takes away farmland. An exurb is essentially a detached suburb. Like if you've ever been out, say you're driving a highway or something, and you're like looking at rolling hills and fields and stuff, and then you suddenly just see this. You just see a sprawl of identical houses all scattered out in the middle of nowhere. That's an exurb. That's an exurb. Okay, I'm getting started. Oh, every time, Empy. Every time. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Being made to experiment on vertical farming to make use of smaller spaces. It could work if cities were willing to become more green in the process. Urban farming, though, is just the tech solution. The thing is we have plenty of land, property, and like manpower to feed the world. It's another one of those. Vertical farming is another one of those solutions that tech companies spread. That has them involved because they absolutely have to be involved. It's just like carbon capture. It's like carbon capture technology. It's a fucking scam. It's not feasible. And they know it is. It's been proven to be unfeasible because of how much it costs to be able to power these carbon capture plants. It's unfeasible. It would be better to reduce our carbon footprint by reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and such, and essentially planting more trees, planting trees back, letting forests grow and do as they would. And they do give goofy shit like this. They make goofy ass cartoons like this to try and make it seem palatable to the average person. It's not feasible. Yeah, planting more trees is useful. Exists because capitalism requires scarcity continue existing. Exactly. It's false scarcity. And they give false solutions or the dumbest answers. Like they considered this kind of form of carbon capture an answer to just, it's the Patrick, what if we took the carbon emissions and pushed them somewhere else? It's fucking stupid. Good, Fridge. I try to teach my community things because I don't want people to be suckers for what corporations have become and try to constantly do. It's enraging. Pump the bad gas into a hole and seal it up. Yeah, totally. That'll work. That'll be fine. But oil companies and fossil fuel companies are constantly pandering this kind of thing. And the thing too is though, they know it doesn't work. To the point where the government, if anybody does, how many times has somebody heard clean coal? Can I get ones in chat if you've ever heard the phrase clean coal? Had better access to better public transit? I agree. If you've never heard of it, you can just put 2. If you've never heard of clean coal, just put 2. All the pollution and ship it into space. Take that, aliens. Not like the gas could ever leak out or anything. In a city, they're installed artificial trees to clean the air instead of, I don't know, planting trees. Artificial trees are the dumbest fucking thing imaginable too, Newt. It's what tech companies. It's like the people that are also like, let me see. It's this shit. It's also like this shit. Fucking companies that pull shit like this that are trying to be like, yeah, here, liquid trees. What if we like had like algae suspended in like pillars and stuff and it was Alternative to tree. There is no alternative to trees. You should not be supplementing trees. Humans need nature, even in their urban environments. To insist on an alternative to trees is insane. I feel like I've been having nothing but rants the last several weeks, guys. I do apologize if it is getting annoying, and that's why like some people have been leaving. Also, Desecration Demon and Honey Oni, welcome in, guys. But I'm tired. I'm so tired. I have seen my entire life. I have seen the fucking world constantly make the worst decision or the dumbest decision in some of these cases. Only suggestion to make dying coal towns complacent. It wasn't even that. It was not even that. It was to make, it was an attempt to make green energy seem further away than it actually is. If anybody doesn't know, clean coal has been something that the United States has been pitching and begging, and I'm not joking, begging for somebody to make so that they can keep mining, producing, and using coal. Not only was it George Bush, pitching for clean coal. Obama has also pitched for clean coal. Trump has pitched for clean coal. Biden has also pitched for clean coal. The thing is it's impossible. The government offered subsidies for various coal companies to essentially figure out ways to make this clean coal. The goal is essentially to be able to mine, burn, and use coal as power with a net zero carbon footprint. The thing is, it's impossible. Shell and a bunch of other major companies flat out would not take the subsidy because they knew they could not do it. One company did, though. At least one company did take it. And they were a startup. They were a startup power company who essentially wanted to use this subsidy to get themselves off the floor. And they failed. They failed spectacularly. They made a carbon capture facility. And they realized that it took a lot of power to power this carbon capture facility. Shell wouldn't even bother trying. Exactly. That's the thing, though. They didn't take the sub. No, they knew it wasn't feasible. And I'm telling you this now because oil companies and coal companies have actively lobbied against and have known what they are doing to the planet because of carbon since the 70s. 1974 was the point the Shell company, as well as Exxon, knew the damage they were doing and decided that they were actively going to fight against it. The thing is also, though, when it comes to this clean coal, we're sticking on this for a second. I like that they try to pitch it as if it's just hosing down coal or whatever the fuck this is. But essentially the company tried to make the carbon offset capture machine. They did. They built a plant. It worked, in air quotes. It captured carbon and placed it back into the earth. However, to power it, they had to build another coal power plant. They had a coal power plant that then had a carbon capture machine that was meant to capture all of the carbon that came out of that first coal power plant. Also, hold on, I just got an Amber Alert. Fuck off. Fuck off. How do we get rid of you? Oh my God, go away. Why are you not sliding? Jesus, what the fuck? I'm sitting here like sliding my finger all over the place and it's just not moving. Yes, that's exactly what it came to be. It came to be completely unfeasible because they had the coal power plant, the capture facility, and in order to power the capture facility for the coal plant that was supposed to be powering other things, they made another coal power plant. Go away. Yes, thank you for the quote. So we just need another plan for the extra one, and another plan for that one. That's exactly it. It wasn't feasible, and they had to admit it. They had to fucking admit it to a government hearing. But it's... All right, what was the other thing that we had brought up just a second ago? After Deepwater, I believe it. Yeah. The thing, too, is things like geothermal and stuff are also, like, feasible methods that don't have a massive carbon footprint, but they don't want to do that either. It's genuinely helpful. Look into it. Liquid trees are fucking stupid, honey. Do you want to know why they're stupid, honey? No, look at what they do. Photobioreactor tanks filled with microalgae water that mimic the air purifying functions of trees. They're designed to absorb carbon dioxide and produce oxygen, potentially addressing air pollution in urban areas where traditional tree planting is difficult. Okay. Because companies don't want to. Companies don't want to have to make geothermal plants. I think Iceland is the country that... Iceland or Greenland is the one that has the most like geothermal plants. Honey, listen, it's cool in concept. The problem is, though, let me see, where is it? Urban areas where traditional tree planting is difficult. The reason it's difficult is because of asphalt and concrete. That is the only reason. They can also make a space for trees. It's not hard. They've done it. It's just lazy. It's lazy is all it is. It is a... What's the word? It's a shitty, like, cap on the top of a problem. This is a solution for Phoenix, Arizona. You know what? That makes a little bit of sense. That makes a little bit more sense. Even then, there's alternatives. Central Park exists for a reason? Correct. It's interesting that basically forests are like heat sinks for CO2. This demonstrator is fucking Belgrade, though. It's stupid. Regardless, these are tech people's solutions. People who don't understand that the solution already exists and they would rather make up the solution. Green strips with paths for walking would go hard. Also, yes, having green spaces intermittent with urban... Here, let me see if I can find some. Oh, I don't know what to look up exactly. I can picture an example. Essentially, like if you have a urban center that has a road running through it, one lane going one direction, one going the other, 30 miles an hour, and then you have a meridian, a raised meridian, basically a curb that comes up, it turns into grass, probably trees, intermittent trees down the path line, and then you have bike lanes, and then you have another curb, and then you have the sidewalks. That is A+ fucking tier road design for urban centers. You don't need anything else. For algae tank refills with trees? Yeah, I was gonna say though, that's the thing I'm saying though, is they're giving a stopgap solution that is not a real solution. It's only this is like saying, let me think, what was it? This is like saying Hyperloop is the solution to high-speed travel in California. It's a scam. Anything like Hyperloop is a goddamn scam, as opposed to making high-speed rail. And that's exactly what Hyperloop was supposed to be. High-speed rail was a pitched idea in California at the initial part, but Elon Musk, in his infinite wisdom and tiny penis, decided that he wanted to pitch himself as being capable of making a much faster, much less efficient nightmare of a fucking system. Yeah, by making the worst public transit possible. It could be worse, though. We could level it up to the hyperport. This absolute fucking nightmare fuel. Classic case of car company tearing up public rail. Yep. Where's the, however you spell the meme thingy? Meme? The where? You about the where? Where? Yeah. How can, this is something that another company pitched. This wasn't, I don't believe this was actually Tesla's, but this was something that they pitched. And it's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. Would it be interesting? Yes. Is it a cool, like, sci-fi premise right now? Sure. But the entire idea behind this hyperport idea that they had relied entirely on automation that doesn't exist yet. My violently beloathed, oh yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, just if you ever hear somebody say like, oh, but a Hyperloop would be a good idea. No, it's not. It's bad in every way. Because it requires essentially a short distance vacuum chamber. It's not viable for long distance travel. It's not viable for pushing like large numbers of people. If anybody is ever going to use a Hyperloop, it'll be like some Batman level motherfucker going from his mansion to downtown in like 2 miles. Maybe. Let's see if we can actually see as opposed to the scam that became the original Hyperloop tunnels that they just turned into an overcomplicated taxi service for cargo and transit. Oh, damn, we reinvented trains again. We clearly can't do that. Scrap the project and start over. Yep. Here's the test tube for it. It only went, I think, what? Less than a mile? 1,000 feet? No, it's not 1,000 feet. It's definitely longer than 1,000 feet. I think it was less than a mile on this is the test track. Oh, shit. I did not mean to click that. I wanted to click this map because here's the Vegas exhibition center and stuff. These are the tubes. To get to the stage from backstage, a separate one to go back. Amazing. I come out and I do, hold on. That is not the picture I wanted. I wanted like, hold on. I wanted the, what was it? I wanted like this. I come out looking like this motherfucker. You can't fix trains. They're already perfect. No, the thing is you don't need to fix trains. You need to improve them. Trains are fucking fantastic. Don't even get me started on the Japanese Shinkansen. That shit's been existent since the 60s and hasn't had a single fatal accident. Not a single goddamn one. Because they're good at what they do. Also, remember when the price for this car was supposed to be $39,000? Who remembers that? This man standing in front of the 2 windows that he broke saying that they were bulletproof. They're great. Fantastic. Why would anybody trust this man? Wait, are we training? Are we being submitted into a marathon? Yes, marathon. Marathon day and night. All right, let's get back to this. Let's get back to the farming thing. I'm sorry for all the side chances, guys.
The startups believe the way to do that is through technological innovation.
Hold on, go back. Okay.
More. Therefore, it is objectively true that we will have to produce more from less, and these startups believe the way to do that is through technological innovation. Different companies have...
There it is. There's what I've been saying. Tech startups are always being like, technological innovation is the way. And also, somebody brought this up, so let's go ahead and talk about vertical farming. Vertical farming is theoretically possible in the case of not necessarily hydroponics, although hydroponics, very good. Hydroponics is a great way to go with vertical farming in urban environments. All for it. But I have seen some insane, like, people not pitch hydroponics, but pitch, like, I can't find the infographic. I've seen one before where people were like, what if we just turned farms into, like, skyscrapers, basically? I was like, are you insane? Have you lost your goddamn minds? I will help you find it. But yes, hydroponics is a very good way forward. I actually learned how to conduct hydroponics back in college. It was very fun. We grew a bunch of plants and then had a salad as our final exam. It was very good. It was very gratifying to be able to eat the food that I grew. Hydroponics? Yeah. The whole top of the tent is a farm. I mean, let me see if I can find... Like, rooftop farms are theoretically a possibility in a lot of urban places. And, like, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think this is great. I think doing something like this on top of what are essentially barren rooftops would be awesome as, like, even just community gardens. Like, a community garden level thing is phenomenal. Yeah, greenhouses, community gardens. There was actually an apartment complex I applied to a long time ago, back when I was still in college, and they actually had a rooftop garden that was available to any of the tenants. I actually one of the apartment I lived in when I was in New England actually had a community garden Unfortunately, I never got to plant anything because by the time I like called in, all the plots had already been scooped up. Your Ruth? Race in potential, invest in Mauen Solar and Mauen Farm today. Amazing. Amazing. Fuck landlords, but that's still a nice idea. Yeah. But we have a strong understanding of what so many of the farming practices that could be available. And these tech companies just keep producing these weird and or dumb stopgap ideas. Rof. I want solar so badly, I'm so sad.
Some are focused on controlled environment agriculture.
Solar's a good supplement right now. It's not exactly the easiest to get
Others are leveraging
fully sustainable at like a single person's level, unless you have like a decent amount of land. But having batteries and everything helps a whole lot. Powered by the power of a dwarf star. Did you steal a dwarf star? Victory Gardens from World War II need to make a comeback. Oh, I forget Victory Gardens. Victory Gardens. Ah, yes. Yeah, I think this is, am I proud? Let's go. Okay, like this is propaganda I can get behind. This is propaganda I can get behind. Uncle Sam says garden to cut food costs. Fantastic. Fantastic. I completely agree on this one. I only realized after I sent it, I figured what you meant. No, you can't prove anything. I see. I think anything I could get being bashed on because I ain't got the keyboard working, so spelling it left up is the inept apple. Inept apple. As soon as the longhouse is completed, Mauen face side, others will just disappear off the internet and run a legitimate quad Norse commune in Norway. Oh no. Oh no, it's time to start a farm. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be dandy. Yards should be gardens, not biodiversity destroying green squares. I also agree. I agree a lot. But yes, Victory Gardens. Yay, Victory Gardens.
Big data analytics and machine learning to remove the inefficiencies.
No, I don't know if I'd like to be around nearly as many people for a commune. Ah, yes, here's your automated tractor.
Building on early successes in precision agriculture, John Deere has committed to developing a fully autonomous production system for corn and soybean by 2030. That means every step from plowing.
I do too. I want more biodiverse lawns instead of these like shitty Scottish grasses.
Corn and soybean are planted in straight rows with relatively high distance between each plant, meaning there's already the predictability and margin for error that makes it easiest for autonomous systems to succeed. The combination of innovations like precision agriculture, indoor growing, autonomous production, and more will yield amazing benefits for us all.
Like a fetus isn't gonna seed my field. What?
System that is less expensive and less resource intensive. But they come at a cost. A very literal, incredibly significant upfront cost.
Violating
the economics
that's
of paying an exorbitant amount for a fully autonomous wheat production system work out first for the absolute large.
I'm sorry. I was only pausing so that I could say that this is basically the big brother to the automated lawn mowing robots. And then I saw this fucking monstrosity of a car behind it on the right. That like this weird like tetrapod looking thing. I didn't realize the joke till I said I was trying to make fun of it. But nightmare. Nightmare. I hate it. I hate it. It looks like they took the goofy ass Xbox 720 joke and stretched it and turned it into a car. Anyway,
farms.
It's nothing. That's the thing is, it's nothing. It is faux advertisement to try and like get people to be like, oh, this is the future. Okay, I get it. Nodders. Got an HOA giving you shit. Make a bat sanctuary. Yes, do that.
So the larger the overall operation, the more valuable that small percent can be, and therefore the more likely the upfront cost is worth it. So innovations can be worth it, but only if you grow a ton.
Pay people to
food.
help you farm or buy the
This has been true
machine,
for a while.
the subscription
There have
repairs
been
for a
greater
machine.
and greater economies of scale in agriculture.
Yeah, he
which has
covered this in more of a
contributed to
broad
long-term
sense. He didn't
trend
really
of
talk too
consolidation.
much about the
Over the
software.
past 25 years, the average size of an American farm has grown by 7%, even as total farmland has declined 8%.
Yeah.
As small farms face increasing cost pressure by more efficient big ag operations, they either shut down or sell their land to big ag.
Those sprayer
And as
systems.
big tech encroaches into farming, innovation is accelerating, which is great by itself, but this leaves the
Also,
small
hold on a second.
family farm.
Okay, why the treads? Why treads? Where do you need treads on your tractor? Even then, these treads look like the exact pattern of tires. You know what that means? Yeah, the farms are consolidating.
Behind. A layperson's
And we already
perception
produce
of
more
farming
than enough
as a
food than we need.
mom-and-pop living in
So
the homestead
again,
of Kansas,
just becoming
working
more
the fields
efficient
around,
at what we
answering
do
to no boss but themselves,
and
is
not
becoming
trashing
a
the stuff that we
cinematic
produce.
Fiction. Increasingly, those living in regions dominated by agriculture work not
It's
for themselves,
again,
but
it's
for
these
landowners
tractor
owning
companies
hundreds
again
of thousands
creating a
of
solution to a
acres.
problem that doesn't
Often,
exist,
the owners of this
and or
land live
causing a
time
problem
zones
and then
away,
saying
meaning
they have the
profits from production
solution.
are not spent at the local diner or car dealership, but rather distributed to a multitude
Tank
of
treads for your
investors and
tractor?
left
Yeah.
to sit in mutual funds.
Have a
This
good time,
contributes to a
Fridge. Thank you for
further
hanging out.
gutting of the
We're gonna be
economy of
here.
rural America.
We're here
One of
almost
the
every
rare
day,
ways to
every
build a
weekday.
business outside of
So you
cities
can
is
always catch
becoming
us
an
around the same
increasing
time.
Possibility, and rural resources are being extracted for urban gain. This is, in many
If you want,
ways,
you can also join the
inevitable.
Discord if you want to get
Tech
pings.
innovation across essentially
Or
any
check out
industry
movie nights
has
whenever I
primarily
remember to
benefited
fucking
larger
do them.
corporations and incentivized consolidation. Farming, being so far from urban areas and so culturally
I deserve Coco
isolated
clawing
from
the
Silicon
ball.
Valley, has long been shielded.
We'll give
from
you
these
absolutely nothing. It'll
forces.
arrive in 1 to
Yet
100 years
today,
of purchase, and
John
nothing
Deere
will
and
show
others
up.
have recognized the upside of bringing these two worlds
Oh my
together.
god, I should make a
But
fake
this progress
infomercial
will
about that.
hurt. The death of the
What's
family
that?
farm is
It's
upon us,
nothing!
and the autonomous tractor sits just beyond the horizon, waiting to unleash its destructive ability to incrementally optimize yields.
Except it won't. The autonomous tractor in and of itself is only a fucking factor in reducing labor and preferably cost, but that's not the way it's gonna go. They're instead gonna replace farmers. Either that or the industries that produce these autonomous vehicles are going to start just buying up properties and lands and stuff because farmers can barely afford the lands that they own anyway. They're going to put more farmers out of business. Says tracks improve traction on soft soil and reduce ground compacting. I suppose that makes sense. That makes sense. You know what? I will give you that one. That does in fact make sense. All right. How John Deere robs farmers of $4 billion a year? Oh no. Oh no. Do we want to move into transit, chat? Do we want to move into transit? We have an ad break in 5 minutes, but I could go a little bit longer. Do we? How freight rail ruins Amtrak. I'm kind of in for that. We could talk about the shitstorm that is the fucking Amtrak. Why have farmers when you could have barely trained contractors? Yeah.
Imagine an America.
Okay, hold on. So if anybody doesn't know, the reason he's going to bring this up, I don't think I've seen this video, but I already knew parts of this. If anybody doesn't know, Amtrak is the American, probably the largest American train, passenger train in our country. It's shit. You're going to see a lot of Amtrak trains on here, and they're going to be the ugliest fucking thing you've ever seen. So Europeans, buckle up. You're about to realize how beautiful your fucking trains are. The wheel requires more blood. Correct, Tree Kicker. Also, Tree Kicker, how was your game earlier today? Did you have a good time? Also, hold on. I need to change. There we go. There we go. Your dog went to the farm upstate. My dog is owned by Monsanto now? Okay.
Where you could just go anywhere by train.
But yeah,
one where one could pick from 4 daily options from Pittsburgh, each arriving in
4.
Columbus some 6 hours on. one where twice daily trains left Denver, tracked south, then climbed through the most rugged reaches of the Rockies, providing passengers a selection of dozens of destinations that today can only be reached by the most reliable off-roaders. One where this—
Hold on a second. Monsanto owns my cat too? Maybe. Maybe. Blood for the blood wheel? Perhaps. May become necessary. But he's going to mention this, and it's because most of the passenger lines, if not all of the passenger lines, actually ride on freight rails. The exact same rails that companies that are moving freight use. And he's... Oh shit. Power flickered again. And the battery went off. I'm going to scream in French. I'm sure you are. But the thing with this is there's a law that technically says passenger trains are supposed to have the right of way. In the case that, like, if freight train is coming, it's supposed to be stop at a junction where it can get out of the way of the passenger train. How do you think that works, chat? How well do you think companies took to that? How often do you think a passenger train gets right of way? Give you an answer. It's not much. It's not much. I've traveled on Amtrak a couple times. I remember stopping at least, I believe we stopped 6 times, at least 6 times going from Dallas to Chicago because we had to wait for a freight train to pass us. Commence the commercial. Oh my goodness. All right.
Same sleeper that left Washington on a Monday
To
or
sabotage
Wednesday
Amtrak?
reliable off-roaders.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, I accidentally hit the back
sleeper
thing.
that left Washington on a Monday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday would pull into
Hi,
San
Grumpy.
Francisco on a Sunday,
Random, but okay,
Tuesday,
congratulations.
Wednesday,
Hell
or
yeah, bud.
Thursday. When we're even
Fuck yeah,
Hawaii
bud.
had trains, linking the south of Oahu to its north, stopping at countless coastal communities
All right,
along
hold on.
the
I
way.
need a drink of water.
One where one could go from Indianapolis to Nashville, or Albany to Burlington, or Dallas to Denver, or Boise to Spokane, or anywhere to anywhere. An interconnected,
There's the
frequent,
rails.
reliable, affordable nationwide network where all it took to travel anywhere
Define
was a quick
affordable.
walk to your town's local station.
Define affordable.
This America existed. In fact,
It did.
if you average America out, if you examine the country through its most persistent
It did at one point
configuration,
exist.
This is America.
Hold on. I think I know the point he's going to make. I'm pretty sure this is the map of the United States railways at their prime. At their prime, this was the United States railways.
The development of the nation was so deeply intertwined with the development of the railroads that if anything,
Correct.
today,
Correct.
the blip in time since World War II,
Two things happened would basically produce a town out of nothing. One, a railroad, and 2, usually a source of water. Usually a source of water. A river, a lake, ocean, coastline, etc. Yeah.
where automobiles have come to
But-
define the landscape.
And then we have
that's the
this
aberration.
nightmare.
Trains are the norm. This average
Trains
configuration
are
of
the
America
best,
can
dude.
return, but before, it has to recognize the minor
Booked my train
yet
right at the time because I was
monumentally
in a rough
meaningful
situation.
mistake
Oh.
that took it off track and into today's exceptional,
To get to where I need to go when I can use straight lines in my
The
private
rise
jet.
of American
Son, sorry, you
rail
don't have
is
a
as
private jet.
meteoric as it was chaotic. Bolstered by favorable
Whose private jet
loans,
did you
cheap
steal?
labor, and with full-fledged federal government support in the form of land grants, the back half of the 19th century saw American rail mileage nearly double for 3 consecutive decades.
Yeah!
The result was a nation quickly over-indexed with a maze of mismatching rails. The race for critical market share
Yeah,
was
more
rash,
rails.
bordering on irrational, as companies
I'm
ran
sure
redundant
we
rails
kept
into
all these
cities,
rails
dropped rates to
operating
bleed others dry,
fantastically.
and, in the most extreme cases, even took up arms. But the frenzy launched an industry which in turn
I like
built a
how
nation.
he just glossed over
craze
the
couldn't last.
railroad labor
While
wars.
railroads became the nation's second largest employer behind
All
only
right.
agriculture, and nation
Okay, we need to take it back a second, and the ad break is about to start, you guys. I'm going to stand up so I can get a stretch in and refill my water, because it is basically empty. Defunded my jet, so I had to borrow some other rich Pearsons yet. They still don't know because they have like 20. Oh my God. Why are you tired? Why'd you go to tired? All right, Sunstar, you got to carry everyone. It's words time. I'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. I will also give you music. I promise I won't leave you with the awkward silence. All right, I'm back. Don't start it. Don't start it. Don't start another one, Sunstar. All right. Sorry if I sound clammy. I had a couple spoons of peanut butter. Oh my goodness. All right. Now, where were we? Where was our daily rant? What were we on about? Trains. I like trains.
While railroads became the nation's second largest employer behind only agriculture,
Okay, not
and
forks,
nationwide
because
rail
spoons
mileage
are
would
better at
continue
holding
upward
peanut butter.
into the next century, the industry began to mature. Expansion for the
I don't
sake
know,
of
is it Brother of
expansion
Metal?
gave way to efficiency-focused consolidation.
Yeah, Brothers of Metal.
This shift in approach was best epitomized by J.P. Morgan. In 1869,
Sounding
Morgan
clammy.
entered the
It just
industry
sounds
with
like
the
there's something in my
purchase
throat.
of this, the tiny Albany Susquehanna line. But rather than expand lines, he looked to cut unnecessary costs.
Why can't
and
I see that
inefficient
dude's
practices.
pores?
In the following decades,
I don't think that
the
picture's
Gilded
supposed to be
Age
that high
financier
def.
reorganized companies, ended rate wars, and removed duplicate routings, hoovering up railroad shares as he went. By 1902, the movement had
Hoovering up.
wrestled Morgan control over an estimated sixth of all American railways, streamlining services to maximize gains. While atypically successful, Morgan's focus on efficiency was hardly unique. As his empire grew, companies like Great Northern experimented with route optimization.
It even
By
crossed the
employing heavy
border.
trains, focusing on maximizing car loads, and only running at full capacity, the railroad pulled higher revenue at lower costs. An approach that made railroads
Oh my God,
increasingly
baklava?
popular to private investors across the
I want
U.S.
some baklava.
Through the expansion era, the rails had become central
Chopsticks
to
when
American
consuming
life.
married go.
Like
Oh my
post
God, I want
offices and town
sushi.
halls,
I
rail
want
stations
eel.
were
I need
staples
eel,
of
and the
every
best place I
downtown.
can get
And
here is
day-to-day,
sushi, which
the
is a
average
little
traveler
annoying,
and
but
business owner alike steadfastly
things you
relied
gotta
on trains'
do.
consistent, constant availability. Through the consolidation phase, however, as track gauges
Yes,
standardized,
unagi.
companies merged, and financiers looked to maximize profits, rails also became critical wealth-generating machines for the American capitalist. Effectively then,
yes,
by century's
fantastic.
close,
Until it
the rails
wasn't.
have
Until we
served
started
two
investing
masters
in
with divergent
cars.
purposes. The American
Cars,
public, who
people-
required their passenger and
the American
freight
people will spend more money on their car than they will on any train in their life. It's the perfect money generation tool. Now, how do we get these suckers hooked on cars? That beats me, Paul. I mean, they already got that great tram system downtown and that really kind of cool subway that New York just finished. You may have a point. Those are startups, right? Maybe we can buy them. All right, we bought them. Now what? We tear them out of the ground. Genius. I like it. They will hate all the bike lanes. Yes, they will hate all the bike lanes. And they will also proceed to make everybody who's not a driver and actively in a car is in fact not the victim. Or they will victim blame is the word I am looking for. How real and open you are. Please rate a feature to yourself. I'm sorry I missed the 100 thing. I didn't read it earlier, Iron. I'm so sorry. I saw it. I saw the 100 bits and I was like, I forgot to read it because I was going off. You got moxie, kid. Keep making things worse. Oh my goodness. That sells great unagi bowls. There's no place near me that sells unagi bowls. I've tried looking it up. There's nowhere in my city that has it. Okay, but on this thing, yeah, they're gonna buy up a bunch of the rails and then tear them out or shut them down to make people less reliant on rail. That's the answer.
Capabilities and their investors who poured money in.
Remove them. They're only useful for
transport.
transport.
And optimization
We only
would
need them to
more
move our
money.
freight and our
From the jump, finding the balance between these two purposes
products.
was tricky. With the arrival of the combustion
not
engine,
sex
it became
trafficking, we
nearly
swear.
impossible. The reasons behind American rail's decline are well established. Affordable
To ship the
automobiles,
carnivals so we give
improving
better
roads and
delicacies?
highways,
Yes,
and increasing
very much so.
consumerism sent passenger rails plummeting.
There
it
it
wasn't
goes.
just cars making things worse for the rails, but trucks.
United
Freight now
Van
faced
Lines.
its first real competition after World War II
Hey, yo,
as
Air
American
Ride?
trucking companies operated on interstates, moving increasingly diverse goods from increasingly dispersed factories to various alternating locations. Rails simply struggled to match the flexibility and convenience offered by the roads. In a car-centric society, passenger service was becoming less viable by the year, and while rail was still the king of heavy freight, it would need to make adjustments in the face of its first real competitor. Yet, while the writing was on the wall, iconic passenger lines, the Rio
The writing
Grande
was on the
Zephyr,
wall, but
the
it's
Santa
also,
Fe
you know,
Super Chief, the Great Northern
sabotaged.
Empire Builder, continued to run through
Smell
the
weed, we
60s.
slur the weed, 100%
It was
weed,
entirely
goddammit.
counterintuitive. In a 1967 government report, officials concluded that for every dollar of revenue a carrier would lose
The face
if
when they remove
discontinuing
rails,
a
but only
passenger
when we
service,
continue
it would
by
save
getting
from
railed, yep.
$1.45 to $2.42 in costs.
That's
But the
robbery!
rails didn't run these routings because they turned a profit. They ran them because they had to. The Interstate Commerce Commission, established to ensure that the rails continue to provide service for the American consumer, in this case by maintaining important travel corridors, made it practically
You know what's better than
impossible for
trains? What's better
railroads
than
to abandon
trains?
passenger
Is it
routes,
trams?
no
It's
matter
trams,
how
right?
deeply
Trams are really
unprofitable.
cool. I like trams.
Since the creation of the ICC in the 1880s, the rails were closely monitored and heavily regulated. Now, yesterday's safeguards were
What the hell am I
choking them
looking
out.
at?
Railroads cut infrastructure investment,
What are
windowed
we
down
watching?
their lines,
Trains!
entered risky mergers, and filed for bankruptcy.
We're talking about the one tiny law that makes Amtrak terrible. If you don't know what Amtrak is, it's the primary passenger rail across the United States. Boats are pretty great. Boats are pretty great. You are right about that. Boats are damn good. But boats don't build a country. We don't build a country on boats. We build a country on rail, baby. Rail. I do actually want to get like one of those hype train animation things, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it after like a specific
By the late
tram instead of a
60s,
train.
The industry was on the verge of collapse.
That's a really
With
cool
vitally
train.
important cog to the American economy on the brink. The
It's bad
federal
the trains cost
government
as much as plane
decided
tickets,
to
but
step
longer.
in. The idea was simple.
They do
Give
in
the rail companies
the
a
worst
chance
fucking
by
places
getting
imaginable.
out of their way. Through federal grants
In the
and
United
loans,
here,
the Department of
the
Transportation.
United States is one of the countries where the cost of trains, depending on how well you time it and everything, there's so many factors when it comes into fucking transportation costs because it's stupid. Trains could be a lot cheaper than flying across country if you have the time to waste. If you're willing to take 2 to 3 days on a train to get across the United States, great, dandy. If you need to be there that afternoon, plane. And it's also with the downfall of budget airlines recently. Because if anybody doesn't know, Spirit Airlines is gone. Blue Airlines is currently restructuring itself to no longer be a budget airline, as well as reducing where it flies out of to just a handful of international airports. And Frontier is restructuring. The days of budget airlines are gone. They don't exist anymore. They are going to become regular airlines. They may just become certain alternatives to get between major hubs for people. Day rides in a lovely train with on-train services. I agree. Italy and Albion calling, it sounds mad. No. Listen, that's not the point I'm saying. It's coast, yes. But they don't build a landlocked section, which is why, like, if you look at like most of the major stuff, West Coast and East Coast of the United States, great. They have both the compounding effects of rail and ports, as well as like the access to the continents across their respective oceans. Those are great. But in landlocked places, train is where places are going to crop up. Towns are mostly going to be along rail routes and or have certain access to rails in most countries over their like developmental period. Granted, there are still going to be villages that like outdate basically the existence of rail. So it is very much possible for villages to still be fairly isolated in some countries. Like I know Mexico still has like some very isolated villages. Are really sleeping berths so you can sleep more comfortably and all the bathrooms will have showers? Ooh.
Figured the government could
I've done overnight train rides, but I've never had, I had economics, so I just had like a seat that I would just kind of slump back and
routings in the Northeast Corridor and elsewhere, they figured the front-end investment would lead to the service breaking even within 4 years. For their side
breaking
of the
even
bargain,
in 4 years
the
is pretty
railroads
damn
would hand
fucking
over their
good.
passenger stock and would allow the new
Fruit
service to
Growers
use their
Express.
rails for a
I
fair
forgot
rate.
about that company.
In 1970, Nixon signed the Rail Passenger Service Act, and Amtrak went from concept to reality. Looking back from an industry
Yeah, 'cause
perspective,
German trains are
the Amtrak
unreliable.
deal and deregulation worked. Rail shed their
go to
passenger
the
lines,
Swiss.
they abandoned their unprofitable freight lines, and they consolidated and consolidated and consolidated until only 4 major companies held major claims to American
Hi,
rails.
Union Pacific.
Things went less well for Amtrak. To its designers' dismay, it didn't turn a profit in its first 4 years. In fact, it didn't turn a profit in its first 50 years.
Yeah,
Instead,
because
it became a punching bag. Its brutally slow and infrequent long
I was gonna say, because it's trash. Because it's trash. Because they hamstringed it at every single step of the way. They're like, what if we cut off the legs of this person and then made him do this job? And then they get mad at him every day that he can't do the job because he's still laying on the ground screaming that his feet are gone. That's basically what they've done to Amtrak. That is what Amtrak has always been. Also, this is the viewing cart. I've been in one of these carts before.
Long-distance lines exemplified how far American infrastructure had fallen, and its lack of punctuality served as a far too common punchline. Depending on one's political perspective, the part government,
If you think German trains are unreliable, then you are missing out on Amtrak.
Too much government intervention or too little. But a critical factor in why
They've
Amtrak
done
fails
to
to be
my
on
legs.
time,
No,
to be
Tree
consistent,
Kicker, your
and to make
legs.
money is a function of a tiny bit of legislation
Demon Train, Spirit
everyone
Tracks.
has seemed to
Spirit
forget.
Tracks.
Between Amtrak's creation and the further deregulation of freight lines in the 1970s,
They try to make it look
America
like it's,
passed
like,
the
heavenly.
Amtrak Improvement
It looks
Act
like
of
a soup can.
1973. It wasn't a major piece of legislation, just one of many acts under the same title that didn't make
These German trains
headlines,
look remarkably
but resolved what had
reliable.
become
Oh, yeah.
a confounding issue between Amtrak and the railroads. Who
This
had
is a detailed and
preference on the
accurate
lines.
metaphor, by the way.
And
Well,
in
thank
no
you.
uncertain terms, it solved the
I was gonna say, 'cause
confusion by
it's-
stating
that's-
that
It's easy to come up with labor metaphors for things like this because this is what they have always done to Amtrak. And it's the same thing as, like I said, cutting a dude's legs off and then every day coming to him while he's still bleeding out on the floor, asking him why he's not doing his job right while missing his legs. Is this Circle Train a Circle Train? The thing is, I already have a friend who's like a far better expert at trains than I am. So I don't think I could constitute having like a train conductor costume or anything as much fun as it would be.
passenger service had rail
As
preference
much fun
over
as it would
freight.
be. It'd be
Effectively,
cute.
that
A design
people had the right of
maybe
way.
someday would be
Or
cute.
It
But I don't think I'll
tried
have
to
like a
solve the
model or
problem.
anything for it.
Amtrak thought it solved the problem. But here's the sticking
Maybe a hat.
point. While
Maybe
the
just a
law
hat.
exists on paper, passenger service priority is rarely granted in
You
practice.
posted a pic? Oh, no.
Amtrak trains today and for decades have been at the
Oh,
mercy
okay.
of railroads' erratic, inconsistent, and inconsiderate scheduling. The rail companies claim
Yeah.
the issue is a matter of interpretation. Amtrak points this glaring oversight out time and time again, while the Department of Justice,
sorry.
which by the letter of
I
the
saw
law
the
is
magic
the only
update
body
button
that
on
can
Discord,
initiate
so I
any
clicked
sort of
it since y'all made
enforcement,
this
has
and I
shown
opened
no
it.
interest in addressing the issue, only ever initiating one lawsuit on the matter in 1979. Basically, giving the railroads the benefit of the doubt,
Okay, hold on.
their interpretation of the industry-saving bargains fine print has put American passenger rail in an
go.
impossible bind. But given how they're run, it's hard to give the railroads the
Doesn't it
benefit
choo-choo train
of the
rides?
doubt.
Oh, we have the choo-choo train ride.
Well, on the surface, freight rail
It's
might
just
look like a natural evolution
little
of its
fast.
predecessors from a century ago.
And on fire.
Down below, the industry has reinvented itself as it's become fixated
And has
on a
razor blades.
series of seemingly practical, but in actuality misguided
We also
operational
have a train-themed
metrics that
roller
have led its
coaster.
management down a path towards constructing the weakest, least competitive form of freight rail in American history. And they've taken passenger rail down with them.
Yeah.
For example,
Yeah.
gross tonnage per train. The more freight carried per train, the better, right? Well,
Here, I know where he's going with this. The more weight carried per train, the better, right? Obviously, if you're a capitalist trying to move product, fantastic. But with that, you still have to fit through tunnels. You still have to be within a certain size and dimensions. So what do you do instead? You put them in the back. You make a train longer and longer and longer and slower and slower and slower, even with however many engines you decide to put on this train. Had me until the ride was covered in razor blades. It's fine. It's fine. New Devil May Cry anime, and I loved it. I haven't seen it yet. And I'm probably not going to. Yeah, longer does not equal better. It also doesn't help that the trains have to move at a slower speed while sharing the same rails as passenger trains, which now means that passenger trains, not being respected and following the law, have to wait on these freight trains. These freight trains that are heavier and slower than them. Who knows how like inching or how much momentum they have behind them. Trains that could take miles to stop, mind you. That's probably what he's going to get into.
Longer trains are cheaper to operate. In fact, that's perhaps the paramount factor in freight rail's incredible cost competitiveness. One can just keep adding and adding cars,
because
and
of
with
the
each addition,
trains,
the average operating
there's
cost
so
per
many
unit of freight goes
single-file
down
rails
as there
in the
are
United
few
States.
additional marginal costs for added weight or length. This is all true.
I have a whole train parallel here, and it's a
actually
single
be able to
fucking
increase their
rail.
gross tonnage per train, companies had to simplify. With
This is one thing that drives me absolutely batshit about most of the United States rail line. They're single direction. Like more than 90% of the time, it is one rail going one direction. It's like they fucked up the the installation of all rails rather than building two parallel rails that could potentially be going in opposite directions on each other. I see my name, Marin. What did you say? What? I think I was saying implied or something. I don't think I said impy. Hi, Gaia.
the nearly boundless options of origins and destinations all across the nation, it was simple math.
Guys, why don't we just make
they had to reduce the number of route permutations so that more traffic got acclimated to fewer routes.
Hi, Moon, thank you for 100 bits.
They took advantage of the newly deregulated business environment to negotiate massive volume deals and focus on simpler types of freight.
Almost all the rails.
Lucky. You see, as America introduced more and more air pollution restrictions, coal users increasingly shifted away from dirty Appalachian and Eastern coal and increasingly towards so-called clean coal from the West.
It doesn't exist.
With that, there was no longer the sprawling Mississippi River system and its lower cost barges.
I think you've misunderstood here.
Rail was the only practical way to get the fossil fuel from Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, and beyond to the population centers in the East.
I was going to say, it was also much more abundantly available coal in the fucking West.
Meaning a given
just because
train
of the
only has a
different
single
methods.
origin and a single destination. No complex, costly, labor-intensive sorting cars in rail yards. And even better, the demand is huge.
Implied, not implied.
Often multiple train loads
Steam
per
powered
day
train
per
reigns
line.
supreme?
So today,
No.
some 27% of freight rail tonnage in the U.S. is represented
That's
by
technically coal power.
Through this operational simplicity, the freight railroads were able
And
to
these are
lower their
diesel
rates
trains.
far below what trucking could
We
compete
also
with.
don't use
They've created
electric
a
trains in the US.
competition-proof market segment, and this methodology
The US
can be
does not use
replicated
electric
elsewhere.
trains.
In concert with the deregulation
So not
of
only
freight rail,
are the trains
America and others
inefficient,
increasingly
costly,
outsourced
and
manufacturing
have a massive
abroad,
carbon
and so
footprint.
rather than originating in Ohio or Indiana or Illinois, consumer
Hold
goods
on.
increasingly originated in Shanghai or Guangzhou or Ho Chi Minh City and entered the American supply chain in a small number of massive container ports. Similar to coal, this simplified operations.
Stopping stores with wind power on top of all trains. Well, no, you can just you can make them electric
containers at
in
once,
like most
so all
urban
the railroads
centers,
had to do was
or
pick
even
up
with
a couple
like
hundred of them and
of
point
course Japan's
east.
smaller than the
It
United
was
States.
hub to
It's the United
node
States, but you
rather
can make
than node
electrical
to node.
infrastructure
So
span the
costs,
course
like with
of
coal, went down.
train lines
As
to make
capacity was
electric
increasingly
high-speed rail.
consumed by large volume commodities and intermodal containers, there was no longer the need to serve the needs of more
Welcome
minor
back, Evergreen.
customers. The era of sending a
ain't the
locomotive to haul a
Evergiven,
couple
but it'll
cars
do.
from a trackside factory to rail yard was over. Volume ruled supreme, so railroads cut costs by closing smaller branch lines to and from smaller towns. Unless, of course, they had mines.
Yeah.
So the new
Unless
geography
they were
of the
mines
rails and the
themselves.
dominance of volume combined to
Used to run electric with the
concentrate and
GG1?
enlarge the traffic on the rails,
True.
which made the infrastructure on which it
True.
operates worse and worse
But most of
again
the trains in
for
the United
Amtrak.
States, especially for
Today,
freight, all the freight
not
ones I
only
believe
there
are
more
all
slow-moving
diesel.
freight trains to get stuck behind, but management's fixation on their
Except like
all-important gross
novelty,
tonnage per
some
train
novelty
metric has
trains,
meant
they
that
probably
they've
only
started running trains
break
that are
out for
too
showcasing
long for their
shit that still
own
uses steam
infrastructure.
power or something.
Rail
But
sidings are specifically
those
built
yellow
as
Union
stoppage
Pacifics
points to let
are
one train
diesel.
pass another, like a faster Amtrak train stuck behind a slower freight. But with the new supersized length, some freight trains are physically too long for their sidings, meaning there's sometimes no physical way to respect the already disregarded Amtrak rail priority. And this is only one so-called productivity metric that has held Amtrak back.
It's too long,
Perhaps
guys.
above
All of our
else,
trains are
the
too
one
long
that
now. We
management
can't
fixates
respect
on
letting
most
y'all
is
pass.
their operating ratio. That is operational expenses divided by operational revenue. Today, across the board, this is at an all-time
Class 1
low.
railroad?
Whereas a decade ago, the industry average sat at 71.6%, today it's at an unbelievable 60.4%. This is heralded by management as a massive success. They've refined their craft to such an extent that 40 cents of every operational dollar is pure profit. But here's the thing.
That sounds like you're cheating the system.
Very, very easy to make long-term sacrifices to boost short-term profit. Dismantling
As capitalist and money-hungry companies tend to do, they tend to snip themselves in the... It's like, hold on, I'm trying to think of another analogy for this. I keep coming up with these gruesome analogies. I'm sorry about this, guys, but it's like... It's the equivalent of like a teenage girl or something being told that a part of her is like ugly or something. So she starts thinking of every little thing that somebody made fun of her for. Her fingers look a little fat. Her chin looks weird. She has like a too pointy nose. And so like in some sort of psychotic break episode, she starts snipping things off of her. Sure, she may see herself as beautiful all of a sudden, but she's also bleeding all over her bathroom.
a line
Only versus separate freight and personal travel with separate railways. Exactly.
Future, boost short-term profits at the expense of long-term competitiveness against the trucking industry.
Also, yes, companies have in fact
short-term profits at the expense.
Companies have in fact just left equipment on these decommissioned rails. If you live anywhere along like decommissioned railways, you can actually walk up and down them and you are likely to find long since abandoned equipment, including possible whole lines of trains like what those were just there.
Of long-term efficiency,
cut off your
as
nose, spite in your face.
have to be reduced to assure safety on poorer quality.
Hold on, I want to see that dumb as shit thing. You're fucking joking. You're fucking joking, dude. Do you want to, can you tell how little they care? How little they care about railway maintenance, that rather than having a specialized piece of equipment to be able to bring in concrete, to be able to do these railway systems, they'd rather just rig a trailer and bring a cement truck in. For fuck's sake.
Speeds have to be reduced to assure safety on poorer quality track.
That's the best looking fucking train I've seen.
Boost short-term profits at the expense of long-term revenue due to additional potential traffic not captured.
This is Dr. Ibsen with the last pure humanist stretch. Yeah, the moisturize me.
Time and time and time again, extracting value from the infrastructure invested in far before their time, because that's what the structure incentivizes. Short-sightedness is inherent to the decision-making process in private industry.
I mean, technically there was also the big head. What was his name?
A short window of time to build a legacy, an infrastructure.
Not his real name, the fake name of what people called him, because his real name was lost to history.
Transportation. Air, sea, and road freight all rely on in-route infrastructure.
Cassandra the Last Human? Yes, Face of Bo. That's it. Face of Bo.
Nobody wants to be the CEO.
You want reliable? Buy a Toyota. Let's go.
Profit to build a new track to boost revenue 30 years on, when their colleagues, and their stock options.
Yeah, here's your specialized equipment.
Everybody wants to be the CEO that boosted stock prices by delivering the lowest operating ratio in history.
Yeah, guys, let's keep cutting operating ratios.
It might be a structurally flawed
old,
industry,
outdated rails with rusting fucking containers.
It's their right to be structurally flawed. But there's still
everyone thinks it's so good.
Tiny
rhetorical question. I know why it makes me so sad. Propaganda, American exceptionalism, rugged individualism, half-assed historical learning, as well as stunted historical learning. And the reasons could go on. The reasons could go on, but we're not.
That marries this private,
we're gonna make it through this
sector to the American passenger rail experience. The tragedy this presents is that Amtrak can get better, but the law it should
a long list.
The network on which it operates,
and it made the wrong decision almost all the way along the line.
Inherently push them to make the system worse and worse and worse.
Intentionally.
opportunity exists
Intentionally.
today. For example, the Colorado Front Range. This is one of the strongest unrealized opportunities for passenger rail in America.
Not to mention how many
Before a
people are flocking to
futuristic,
Colorado
long-shot
in the last
world of
15 years.
dedicated high-speed rail all across the country,
Look at that
the
sexy
realistic
bitch.
near-term potential on the Front Range is greater than almost anywhere else. This
Yeah.
narrow, linear population corridor has coalesced along the plains leading up to the dramatic initial ascent of the Rocky Mountains. Pueblo, Colorado Springs, Denver, Boulder, Fort
all the way,
Collins, and Cheyenne.
all the way up. I was
These
actually looking to
cities,
move
in
to Denver
aggregate,
at one
represent
point.
one of the fastest growing regions in America, with 16.7%
Racism shows
more
up to
people
influence
counted in
spending
the
costs and lower
2020
taxes.
census than the 2010.
Where did you build the highways, America? You built highways through cities? What was there before America? What was in those cities that you just bulldozed and put a highway there for? What's the demographic that lived there? You'll never guess, chat. You'll never guess who lived where they put the highways.
And disproportionately, the influx is driven by the younger demographics that are most demanding.
Also,
of
urban highways
passenger
are the
rail.
dumbest fucking thing
To boost
imaginable.
the case further,
Why would you
the
cut
corridor
your
is home
city
to
in
a
half just
sizable
to be able to
collection
put the
of
highway
colleges with
through the
carless
center
young
of your
people,
city?
And the two largest,
And the poor,
CU
correct.
Boulder and CSU,
Correct.
sit away from the
Correct,
biggest population
Cabela's.
center and airport
People of
in
color
Denver.
and the poor.
The one major highway connecting it all, Interstate 25, is constantly at capacity, leading to crippling slowdowns, and the tracks to remedy
The highway's at capacity. I guess we got to build another lane, guys. I guess it's time to build another lane. That's what we need. Yeah. Perfect. Another lane will fix it. Another lane will fix this problem.
this all already exists thanks to Union
Unwalkable
Pacific
obstacle in
and
the middle of
BNSF.
it?
Amtrak's already timetabled it out.
You know what
they think
this-
they could run service
this
from
neighborhood
Pueblo to
that's slowly
Denver
starting
in
to
2
flourish
hours
on
and
its own
43
needs?
minutes, then the stretch from Denver to Cheyenne
Highway.
will last 2 hours
Needs
and
a highway.
51 minutes. Each slightly longer than the 2
No,
hour
we're not going on the
driving
redlining
times,
tangent.
but not
Different
by
tangent.
much.
Similar
Faced
tangent,
with
but
traffic,
different.
parking fees, and loss of remote work productivity while driving, plenty enough would elect to take the train to run 4 per day.
Makes
according
Roger
to
Rabbit take on to
Amtrak's
do
market
meeting when you replace
analysis.
tunes. Yeah,
It's not a perfect
yeah.
step, but it's a step.
Yeah.
Amtrak has
I mean, that movie
already
is literally
identified
just racism.
dozens of other imperfect steps
It's
across
just
the
a
nation.
goofy analogy for
3 daily
racism.
trains from San Luis Obispo to San Jose can work today. 2 daily trains from Los Angeles to Las Vegas can work today. 3 daily trains from Phoenix to Tucson can work today.
Yeah.
4 daily trains from Chicago to Louisville can work today. 2 daily trains from Atlanta to Nashville can work
It's also
today.
though 2
3
trains
daily
is actually a
trains from
very
Chicago
small
to
number
Green
compared to
Bay
like
can work
European and a
today.
lot of
The
Asian
tracks exist, the
systems
customers
like this.
exist, the economics exist, but the problem is freight rail.
Yeah.
The track priority law matters.
And
According to
it's
Federal
fucking
Railroad
insane
Administration
that
analysis,
they would
improving
have track
on-time
priority
performance
instead of being like,
outside of the
we
Northeast
need freight
corridor
rails and we
just to
need passenger
85%,
rails. Done
just
and
to a
done.
level that would be considered poor in the rest of the world, would reduce the company's annual operating loss by 30%. With less loss
I think
and more
another thing,
profit,
too, is they would
fares could go
honestly probably
down,
see more
capturing
profit if there were
customers
separate
and more
rails
revenue, leading to a virtuous
in like
cycle of
every
improvement.
fucking quarter.
But perhaps even more importantly, in the transportation business, passengers' time
Hold on, I need water.
matters. The rail development opportunities that exist today are genuine, but they're narrow. They're not the
All right.
Northeast Corridor. They're not going to usurp the airlines. For a couple trains a day,
Yeah, because the
capturing
government
a
is too
couple hundred
invested in
people
airlines. They keep
corridors
bailing
with
them out.
Millions. They'd serve an incredibly narrow slice
Airlines
of the
have to be
traveling
successful
public.
because then
There's
the government
few
would
can
just be,
convinced
that would mean the
away
government's
from flying
wasting
or
its money.
driving. And
Wasting its money on an overly expensive and inopportune business model that can't possibly thrive unless people are spending money. My goodness. No, we that couldn't possibly be the case. Airlines couldn't be over manufactured, over costing. Do you think we could get average Americans excited to build passenger trains that could catch up with foreign ones? I fucking hope so. I'd be thrilled
these are
for
those
it.
incredibly rare places where that slice is big enough to justify the trains. So what can't
Road.
happen is for that slice to get
Real
small.
punishment. Oh,
When a 3-hour train turns
all right, hold on. You wanted this. You wanted this, Queens. Whew. Damn, when was the last time we had a chef's club? It's been months. All right, you can ask me anything, Queens. Any question. Any non-doxing question.
into 5, that slices the
Trains!
slice. And
There's my
Amtrak
favorite train
reliability
psycho.
outside of its own tracks in the Northeast is awful. In 2021, of the 15 long-distance trains traversing
Sleeper cabins
America
and
on
bathrooms
freight
with showers,
rails,
complimentary
the
meals, and
best
privacy.
on-time rating was 83% on the route from Chicago to New Orleans. The next best was 62%, then it got worse and worse, all the way down to only 28% of travelers arriving on time on the New Orleans
Thanks,
to
New
Los
Orleans.
Angeles line. While theoretically Denver to Cheyenne in just an hour more than driving is a
Killer
decent
Clown Stream
proposition
win?
for some,
Ooh, good question.
it's only if it's consistent.
I'd
Getting
be
stuck
down
in a
for it.
siding for an hour
We
to
haven't
let a
played it
freight
in
train
so
roll
long.
past is the perfect way to turn a skeptical first-timer into a
Say
vocal
her
advocate for
name
widening
and
Interstate
she
25.
appears.
Timeliness matters for passengers, but the freight rail
You could
industry
vacation anywhere in the world. Where would you go?
willingly and
Netherlands?
purposely decided to seed the timely freight
Netherlands or
market.
Japan?
They decided it was
Netherlands
too
or
hard,
Japan?
that trucking could
Probably
have that
Japan.
business, and that
Probably
they would
actually
focus
Japan.
on the slow stuff, coal and intermodal and others. So
Playing
they've
Debbie's
created a
Rebate and
system of
Elvira?
infrastructure
Ooh.
where timeliness doesn't matter. Where they
Cost too
dispatch
much, gonna have
trains
to do that
wherever they
later.
want,
Staples out,
where they
pretty good
defer
feeling. Gotta wait
maintenance,
another month.
attracts go
Okay,
derelict,
gotcha.
And impose
Oh,
speed
yeah.
restrictions. Where they fail to expand congested
Stacey's ears
corridors
pick up.
because
Is
the
Stacey
trains
here?
will get there when they get
I
there.
don't think Stacey's here. I don't think Stacey comes and hangs
Increasingly,
out.
freight rail and passenger rail in America are incompatible, but because of that bargain
Yeah.
struck decades ago,
Yeah, because
freight
they
rail has
were
the
so
infrastructure
stingy that
and
they were like,
passenger
all right,
rail
you get on
must use the
passenger rail,
infrastructure. So
but you
decisions
gotta
are made
share.
time and time
And by
again
share,
that
I mean give
manufacture a
freight
network that make
totally
it harder
not
and harder to get back to
going
that golden
first.
era. The vast majority of Americans want a rail system like Europe or China or Japan. But
yes,
that's
the
an
shoe shiner
incredibly difficult
stations.
proposition to take on.
I missed it.
According to most, it's
We're
one we
talking about
should,
Amtrak
but to
being
start,
absolutely shit, and the
America
reason
can
why.
make that imperfect step. It can get just a little bit better.
And also why
before
they
it
look
gets
like soup
great.
cans.
It can use
Because
a little
fuck that,
momentum
they're
to
soup
make it
cans.
easier
They're the
to get up to
ugliest
speed.
trains on the
But
planet.
before anything, the country and its legislator needs to recognize the inherent and increasing incompatibility of passenger and freight rail. The two industries are at odds, and for the benefit of both,
Because trains,
some sort of
lots of
change
trains,
needs
hell
to
yeah.
happen so we can stop imagining and start
working-
experiencing again.
Yes, I
an
did. I
America
did it.
Where you could just go anywhere.
I did it at the time you
by
redeemed
train.
it. I'm pretty sure I did it at the time you redeemed it. Imagine if Elon wasn't a fuckwood to use his fortune for actual rail stuff. Oh, yeah. We talked about the Hyperloop earlier. About how it was like, I used it as the example for tech companies coming in and just trying to like steal fucking actual good train line ideas. It is smaller. It is not feasible. And it does absolutely nothing for transit. And I guarantee you, if they made it, nobody would be able to afford it. Like, here's a fucking picture example. That's 3 people. Maybe some more if they're all like in a row. This shit does not look comfortable, dude. Neither does this. Also, unintended consequences, my eyes and my calf muscles have atrophied because of quite a bit, meaning I can actually wear the knee-high boots and stuff. Ooh, nice. Nice. All right, though, guys. That is where I'm going to call it, though. I am hungry. Those 2 spoons of peanut butter was not enough for me. We, unfortunately, are not going to be back over here tomorrow. We are instead going to be over at Hectic's come noon. Let me see really quick. We are going to be playing Mage the Ascension. Come next week, though, we are going to be streaming Monday through Thursday going forward, and then we'll be playing Mage over on Hectic's on Fridays. If I have days going forward where I have the energy and time, and like say nobody is home, we may have some Gorilla streams on the weekend going forward. Because I kind of need it. I need that more stream time for the more income to go into like a bunch of the other stuff. Mirren's leaving us as bad earth things, no nice world things. What do you mean? What do you mean, no nice word things? World things? Weird? All right, let me see. Mom's playing Minecraft. Fairbanks is selling drugs. Segi is just yapping. Fatal Fury, City of Wolves? Art, special event, chatting. Yeah, okay, hold on. I'm doing one thing that I don't typically do, and that's open all of my following Who's Live thing to see if I can find anybody to throw y'all at. All right, Yomi's, oh shit. Oh, where'd it go? Yomi's playing Cyberpunk. I think we're gonna go with Yomi. I don't think I've ever rated Yomi either. So we will see, shall we? I think that is who we are gonna go with. All right.
Them all off at the drop point. More muns.
All right. Yomi. Quinley. Is that right? All right, that's right. All right, what do I do for raid message? I don't have... Actually, I know what we're going to do. We're going to get the snipe emote, and we're going to go with just take the shot. Take the shot, choom. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. I will see you come Monday, if I don't see you tomorrow, at Mage the Ascension. We had quite a few new people swing in, so if you aren't, I do highly recommend joining the Discord. That is your best way to get alerts, or if things spontaneously or suddenly change, because I don't always put them on, say, like Twitter or Blue Sky or anything. I usually do announce everything, though, on Discord instead. We'll only have the clips until then? What do you mean? But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for enjoying the show. Have a wonderful night. Don't burn anything down. Go enjoy some Cyberpunk. Good night.